Starting to cultivate, things are starting to grow. Things are getting real colorful.
Look at. We're in the business of winning.
Don't bet against me.
I don't bet anyway.
Lose your life.
We're in the business of winning.
Are you kidding me?
We're in the business of winning.
Are you kidding me?
We're in the business of winning.
Yeah, absolutely total control right there. Watch this. Champion's prerogative, and I just exercised that option.
We're in the business of winning. We're in the business of winning.
Yeah, if he wants to keep an eye on me, don't look behind you. No, don't look in front. Don't look to the sides. Look straight up, because I'm right on top of you. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're in the business of winning.
And any crying or any excuses is just sour grapes.
We're in the business of winning.
And I think that the spotlight should go on top of me. Yeah.
We're in the business of winning.
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
We're in the business of winning. We're in the business of winning. We're in the business of winning.
Don't bet against me.
I don't bet anyway.
Lose your life.
We're in the business of winning.
Don't degrade the champion at any time. Yeah, I am the cream, yeah. The cream of the crop. And there is no one that does it better. On balance, off balance, doesn't matter. I'm better than you are, yeah. I'm on my way. And nothing is gonna stop me. Nothing's gonna stop me.
And we had non-believers all along the way. I have one thing to say to those non-believers. Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Follow your heart, kid. You never go wrong.
Check, check.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
What the hell do you guys want? And more important than that, how the hell did you find out where I was at? If they want some answers, they should have sent someone with some authority. Do you agree with me? Well, it really don't matter if you agree with me or not. On second thought, once you just sit your little carcass down at that table, I'll answer every little question you got. Before we get started with anything, like I said, we're on my time, so we're going to do things like I want to do them. I want to cover something right off the bat.
We're in the business of winning.
The first thing I want to be done is to get that piece of crap out of my ring. I'm serving notice. I don't give a damn what they are. They're all on the list, and I'm fixing to start running through all of them.
We're in the business of winning.
I'm talking about all the way to the top, yeah. But the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
We're in the business of winning.
Been so fast you can't even talk about it. Things are just popping right now. Things are starting to cultivate. Things are starting to grow. Things are getting real colorful.
Look at. We're in We're in the business of winning.
Don't bet against me.
I don't bet anyway.
Lose your life.
We're in the business of winning.
Are you kidding me?
We're in the business of winning.
Are you kidding me?
We're in the business of winning.
Yeah, absolutely total control right there. Watch this. Champion's prerogative, and I just exercised that option.
We're in the business of winning. We're in the business of winning.
Yeah, if he wants to keep an eye on me, don't look behind you. Oh, no, don't look in front. Don't look to the sides. Look straight up, because I'm right on top of you. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're in the business of winning.
And any crying or any excuses is just sour grapes.
We're in the business of winning.
And I think that the spotlight should go on top of me. Yeah.
We're in the business of winning.
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
We're in the business of winning. We're in the business of winning. We're in the business of winning.
Don't bet against me.
I don't bet anyway.
Lose your life.
We're in the business of winning.
Don't degrade the champion at any time. Yeah, I am the cream, yeah. The cream of the crop. And there is no one that does it better. On balance, off balance, doesn't matter. I'm better than you are, yeah. I'm on my way. And nothing is gonna stop me. Nothing's gonna stop me.
And we had non-believers all along the way. I have one thing to say to those non-believers. Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Follow your heart, kid, and you never go wrong.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
What the hell do you guys want? And more important than that, how the hell did you find out where I was at? If they want some answers, they should have sent someone with some authority. Do you agree with me? Well, it really don't matter if you agree with me or not. On second thought, once you just sit your little carcass down at that table, I'll answer every little question you got. Before we get started with anything, like I said, we're on my time, so we're going to do things like I want to do them. I want to cover something right off the bat.
We're in the business of winning.
The first thing I want to be done is to get that piece of...
Check, check. Sweet. We're live. Let me turn that ice maker off. All right, sweet. Top 5 power forwards of all time. Gonna start it here pretty soon. All right. Let's see. Let's hop in here. Where's he at? Might be a little early. I wonder if you made a different StreamYard link. Oh, I'm in the wrong link. Oh! Oh, I am in the wrong one. God damn it. My fault. Yeah, you are. Dirk number one. Let's go. Let's go. Dirk number one. He hasn't seen me yet. I'm still backstage. Louis Scola barely missed the cut. Number 6.
Gentlemen, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to y'all.
Yo, happy Father's Day.
Got to get on my headset. There you go. Had on the speaker for a second there. Yep. How's your guys' days been so far?
Pretty good.
Good, man. Everything's going good. Great day. Nice weather over here where I'm at.
Hot as shit down here.
I'm in an even hotter part of Texas. I think it's like 101 already out here.
The humidity down here is just so
crazy.
bad.
Yeah, it's super dry here, but so Rex is supposed to be coming.
I sent you an email, Dart. Just ignore that email. I was in the wrong StreamYard link.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Rex is supposed to be here in the flesh for the first time.
Like at your place?
No, I don't know Rex personally. Yeah.
I was like, dang.
No, I meant he said he's confiscated his daughter's laptop, meaning he's going to go on camera.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then the Chris is supposed to be here OG just messaged me and bailed out like 5 minutes ago, saying he's got to go to a Father's Day brunch. Judge said he's going to be here.
Who's the guy? Who's the guy you debated recently about LeBron?
Oh, I didn't debate him. I just interviewed him.
Yeah, I just interviewed. Who was that?
Chris. He's supposed to be here.
Chris. Okay. I'm gonna have to get after him.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do.
I already told Dart I'd love to debate him if nobody else steps up.
Oh man.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he does it again. If he'll debate the same subject again. But the other Chris guy, he's been talking about wanting to get involved with it, and I mean, I don't want to say. I just think like this is a good step because he's talked about wanting to do it, but then every time I ask him to do it, he says he doesn't want to do it for one reason or another. The Gap God handle guy.
Oh yeah. I've commented with him several times too, on my channel. And I told him to come on the live stream. You know, I was like, yo man, you should try to get up on here. But
what's his stance or what's his topic?
Oh, he wants to defend Michael Jordan versus LeBron in regards to Chris. But I've asked him to come on and do an interview, or if he wanted to debate or anything like that, because he's been talking about how he wants to start his own channel. And he's like, well, I'm not tech savvy. I'm like, well, you can come on. I mean, and all you have to do is click the link that I give you. You know what I mean? And he's not come on for one reason or another. So, but now he's saying that he's interested. So,
okay.
I mean, for me, like, I know you'll do it, and if he doesn't do it, then you're more than welcome to. I've had a few people say they would do it, but then they never emailed me. So the other Chris did email me though. But yeah, still wait a few minutes see if people show up. Hopefully Judge actually shows up, because he said he was going to show up last week. Never showed up.
I tried to call him out on the emails, thread to try to get him to, poke him a little bit, saying I smoked him on the debate that we had, which I did. But,
I was gonna try to bait this guy who thinks LeBron is the GOAT to debate me too. Set the trap.
Yeah, well, listen, I always say, like, if people feel that LeBron James is the greatest of all time in their minds, I have no problem with whoever you think is the greatest of all time. It could be somebody out of nowhere that no one really thinks about. What I don't like is when people start making up lies. The things that he was saying to me was really
I'll be right back. I'm listening.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? To me, NNB, it was a really, like, he was talking about the competition. Like, he was dissing Dan Marley. I heard him, throw Craig Elo's name out there. These guys will try to throw these guys out, their names out there, try to insult these guys, but they don't have a clue. And he said some things about Michael Jordan not being political or something, not being into politics or some other nonsense.
Who cares?
I never understand these guys who talk about politics. I've always said in my videos, it's always about basketball.
Yeah.
I don't care what these guys do. I don't know Michael Jordan as a father or a husband or a brother or whatever. I don't know what he's like. That doesn't matter to me. So if Michael Jordan, I'm not into politics. I don't get into politics myself. So for me, he's perfect for me. I mean, I don't understand how that's in, they'll be like, oh, well, LeBron's the greatest of all time because he speaks up. But really, what does he do, though?
What does that mean? That has nothing to do with what's happening on the floor. Right. Like, that's totally irrelevant. Yeah, it's kind of silly. 100% silly.
Shout out to Dan Marley.
Yeah, dude. There was that, you guys ever watch Jimmy High Roller? You seen that guy's channel? He had a funny. I think it was Dan Marley or Rex Chapman or something. Whenever like him and Jordan got into like a little, they were going back and forth, and Marley was having like a hell of a game or something.
Yeah, I think it was like the Rex Chapman. Yeah, I think it was Rex Chapman.
It was Rex Chapman.
He went off for like 40 points or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Those guys, they had things you can't measure, yo. Guy like Dan Marley had a lot of heart, had grit, man. I always talk about that word, man. These guys had toughness, man. Dan Marley was a solid defensive player in a great defensive era. You know what I'm saying? So when people try to talk about someone like a Dan Marley, I give Dan Marley a lot of props, man.
Yeah, I like Dan Marley a lot too.
He
And
was in
Kevin
my
Johnson,
video, man,
dude.
for Denver Defenders.
Kevin Johnson gets lost in the shuffle a lot. He was a really good point guard for the Suns there for a while.
Yeah, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, just off his play on the court. I mean, if you look at if you should look at his numbers, even if you never saw him play, just look at his numbers. You'll be like, who is this guy? He had like 4 seasons where he was 20 and 10.
Yeah,
20 and 10. 20
I mean, he was really good.
I mean, who does that?
Not many people.
Playing in the era with great point guards like John Stockton and Gary Payton. I mean, come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Magic Johnson.
100%. Isaiah Thomas, yeah.
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas, exactly. The list goes on and on.
So I say we wait.
We're knocking the 90s, man.
Yeah.
I say we wait a couple more minutes, and at 10:10, if nobody else shows up by then, we'll start it. I messaged Chris, and I mean Rex was saying he's trying to come. Judge is MIA at the moment. Another guy, the Joel Hernandez guy, said he's going to come. Hopefully he comes. I'll message him right now.
More the merrier.
Yeah. I want a full panel, man.
I mean, I don't whatever.
Just for the record, we're counting.
Here he is.
Yeah.
In the flesh. Rex. How you doing today? You hear me?
Right. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. It's my daughter's computer, so I'm like doing this last minute, trying to figure it out. I had to get my email on here so I could hook up to the StreamYard, and I think I got it all.
How's everything going today outside of your son for you?
It's a day.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
I think all of us have kids.
I have 5.
I think you're winning.
And 3 grandkids.
Very nice.
Yeah, mine are all spread out. I got 3 daughters, 29, 25, and 19, and then twin 8-year-old boys, and then 6-year-old grandson, 1-year-old granddaughter, and my second daughter is about to give birth to her first son, which would be my second grandson.
Very cool.
And she lives in Texas.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
So she's the smart one of the family, huh?
Well, my sons are Texans.
Okay. Very cool.
They were born in Wichita Falls.
Okay. So are they Mavs fans by chance? Basketball?
They don't follow sports.
Oh, okay.
They're musicians. Or, I mean, they're 8. They appear that they're going to end up being musicians.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No.
So just for the record, we're counting Tim Duncan as a power forward, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I assume so, but wanted to double check.
Hey, it's whatever you say. You say
that's
say
true.
Magic,
yeah.
Say Magic Johnson's a power forward.
Yeah. Is that better? Get the lighting right.
Yeah, going back sports and fitness, talking about LeBron and Jordan, though, I think Kareem has the best resume to go up against Jordan, though, of anybody. If I had to pick someone to go up against him, that's who I would pick. I don't even think LeBron's better than Kareem, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for me, whenever these LeBron James, Michael Jordan debates are happening, like I feel currently, I did a video a while back, and I talked about how I felt like over the last several years, to me, LeBron James is actually hurting his career, in my opinion, over these last couple of seasons. I mean, whether or not we want to talk about the bubble championship, I'm not one to discredit people's championships or anything like that, but I'm just talking about his overall play. When you look at the things that he does on the court, to me, he's only playing like 60 games now, 55 games. He's playing like half a seasons. The effort's not really there on a consistent basis for me. I feel like he's just kind of letting his fans down. He's letting down the NBA in general just to try to get another championship here and there. He's trying to scrape another one out,
Yeah.
And I feel like he's losing some of the shine.
I think the only reason LeBron's getting thrown up there is because of his longevity, which is impressive. Like, he's playing at a really high level for how old he is. It's pretty crazy, but I just don't think longevity outweighs like your peak and your dominance, like whenever you are at your best kind of thing. And I just think MJ easily beats LeBron in that sector.
He's back.
Oh, here we go. Oh, look who it is, Judge.
It's Rex in the flesh, Judge.
Judge.
Now do you see why I use a picture?
Pleased to meet you, bro. Pleased to meet you. You guys can hear me?
Judge.
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out
Happy
there.
Father's.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you, man.
For you guys were mentioning LeBron, a couple things to remember with LeBron is when he signed the contract to come to LA, they actually projected out how long it would take him to become the all-time leading scorer, and that's how many years he signed for, because LA has always had this thing going back 3 owners. They have to have the all-time leading scorer, from Mike and Wilt, Kareem. They signed Malone when it looked like Malone was going to hang around and take it.
True.
And then they signed LeBron when he got close. So it's always in a Laker. Because remember, unlike every other owner in the NBA, now minus Michael Jordan, they are the only owners that have no other businesses. The team is their sole means of income. So they're more about publicity, popularity, sales than anyone else, because they're not like Mark Cuban or Reinsdorf or they have other income streams. They do not. The Buses own the Lakers. That's it. So that needs to be taken into consideration with all the decisions that are made by them. Second, the whole LeBron GOAT thing really comes down to Nike. Nike is in the final year because they also projected out how long it would take him to become the all-time leading scorer. And they did a $1 billion 8-year contract. You can Google it, with both the NBA and ESPN to push the whole GOAT narrative, because no matter who you pick, LeBron or Jordan, you're buying Nike. That's what it's about. It's all publicity. It's all for fandom. It has nothing to do with the game.
I can see that. Money changes everything. That's for sure.
That's why I don't like the NBA. That's why I'd rather go down to the park, go watch high school, than watch NBA, because it's WWE. They change the rules for entertainment purposes, not to make the game better. It's to make it better to watch, not better to play.
So Chris just messaged me, and he said that he forgot it was Father's Day. So they will not be coming.
That's all right.
Nah, he forgot. He said that mess about Michael Jordan. He's crazy.
That's the guy who was the LeBron fan?
Yeah. So you guys ready to start this live stream?
Yep. Sure.
My whole take real quick is when Rex was talking about Nike and just the whole bureaucratic nature of Nike. It's what you're saying is true, but don't you also feel there's a duality to the whole situation, that yes, they are in the business to make money, as they should. Go ahead, make money. But what about the fact that they also help to promote the best basketball players on the planet? Because you're saying you want to go to the park, which is cool. It's a park right there. But I know the NBA is more entertaining. How do you address the duality?
I'm not a fan. I don't care about entertaining. I play on courts. I don't watch. I don't care about entertaining. I care
Rex,
about playing.
There can be a lot of overlap.
Let me tell you something right now, man. You can't tell me right now, Rex, that the guys in the 90s, I'm not going to speak for whatever other eras of basketball you want to, talk down upon. But you're going to tell me that the guys who played in the 90s that I grew up watching, these guys didn't give effort on the basketball court. I'm talking about genuine effort on the basketball court, regardless of money, sponsorships, any of those things. These guys gave genuine effort. I watched them give effort.
When did I say anything otherwise?
So what I'm trying to say is that if you can say that these guys gave genuine effort on a consistent basis at a high level in the 90s, specifically the 90s, then you can say that you can appreciate the level of basketball that was played in the 90s overall. You can respect it, right?
Yeah, it was the best basketball in the world at the time. Yeah.
So what is it? Is it when guys started making money? Is that what it is? Because
I don't understand the point. What's
No, because you've been on a consistent basis saying that you're not a fan of the NBA. You say that in a general statement. So what I'm saying is, when you say that statement, you have to be specific about what do you mean you're not a fan of the NBA.
The NBA, the company, the association, the organization that is the NBA. I'm not a fan of them. I don't watch the NBA. I haven't since 2000.
Yeah, no, I get it. Listen, I get it.
That's all I said. I meant
there you go. All right. So since 2001? Since 2001?
I watched the NBA Finals in 2014, and I watched maybe 10 games from 1993 to 2014. I don't watch basketball.
But the 90s was the best. You know it, baby.
So I think you said one time you were growing up playing basketball. So when you were growing up, who were you watching from a professional level, or whoever was better than you, that you felt, if I watch this guy, if I watch these teams, I can get better myself? Who were you learning from?
All the players around me. I grew up in D.C. I hopped on my bike or I ran to different courts. I'd ask where are the best players at. They'd tell me where the court was. I'd grab a couple friends. We'd go there. I played. I found out where great players played. I found out in '89 when Adrian Dantley got traded from Detroit to Dallas, he did not go directly to Dallas. He refused to show up. He went back home to D.C. Me and a friend of mine, Billy, who played at Virginia Tech, we were out doing a morning workout, training session. Got back to my house to eat some lunch. We flopped down in front of the TV, and on the 12 o'clock news, back when you only got news, at certain times, we flopped down to put on the sports. In local sports, they had a picture of Adrian Dantley at the George Mason University Fieldhouse shooting by himself, talking about how he was refusing to show up with Dallas unless his contract got renegotiated. Me and Billy didn't even speak. We jumped up, hopped in his car, drove out there, paid the $5 to get into the field house as non-students, and we played every day that week with Adrian Dantley. And I learned more from him than I did from any coach anywhere. You find the best players and you play with them. You don't sit on your couch and watch. You get out on the court and you get into the game, you play. And I went all over the country. When I'd fly cross country, I'd always get the cheap flight, so you had 1 or 2 stopovers. I remember having a 3-hour stopover in Houston. I went out, I hopped in a cab. I said, take me to the ball courts. He said, which one? I said, where the best players play. And went out, and I balled for about an hour and a half, went back to the airport, washed up a bit in the men's room, hopped on my flight, went on. You got to find the best players, and you get on the court, and you play. That's how you find out who's who and what's what. That's how you learn the game of basketball. Not, I can shoot this shot, or I can make this kind of bounce pass. I can dribble like this. It's the X's and O's, the chess match that is basketball. You learn how to play.
How do you feel about the NCAA?
I haven't watched the NCAA since, Allen Iverson?
Okay.
I don't watch basketball, guys. That's why this is what I mean when I always put on the comment section, I'm not a fan. I am not a fan. I play basketball. I don't watch it. That's why I don't, on a lot of the trivia here, that's why I'll nail certain things and answer every trivia question right. But then on other stuff, I have no clue because I don't watch. I don't care. I don't know.
Were you watching guys in the 60s and the 70s? Were you ever watching?
Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad, and this whole thing is turning about me. So let's get with the thing here real
Oh,
quick.
Because we're finally
My
seeing
dad-
your face, you know?
Okay, my dad worked at the Department of Treasury in D.C., and I believe I told Dart this, or did I tell Nick this? I told one of you.
I think you told me before. I think you told both of us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he would, during the summer when I was not in school, he'd take me to work, and across the street, excuse me, was the Library of Congress. So I would go and spend all day in the Library of Congress reading every sports article about basketball. And I'd watch every film that they had, which wasn't a lot, but they did get a copy of every televised game. A copy is sent to the Library of Congress. Every copyrighted news article is sent to the Library of Congress, one copy. Back then it was on microfiche. And I read them all. And I learned it all in real time. Back when they, I learned about, Wilt Chamberlain when Wilt Chamberlain was still playing. I learned from news articles written by people that played with him, against him, coached him. That's how I learned these things. My first ever NBA game was Bullets and Lakers, and Wilt's last time visiting the Capitol Center. And got to see Jerry West as well. That's why we really went, because my mom is from near where Jerry West is from in West Virginia. So we went to see, as she called, Jerry. And, I couldn't take my eyes off of Wilt. I mean, my God. And that's the thing, is it's that whole presence thing, like you don't understand how great Mick Jagger is until you actually see him, because he can't sing, he can't dance, he ain't good looking, but yet he's still out there doing it and doing it better than anybody. You have to see him to get it.
Yeah, you got to watch it.
You just can't imagine Wilt until you see him. And then even the players on the court were in awe of him, which is why he dominated so easily, I think. It wasn't a case of he was so much better than everybody. His presence was so intimidating that even other great players were like, you know what I mean?
Well,
like
you know what? It's going to be good. It's going to be good to hear your top lists if you're not watching the game and we're watching the game. And if our list is similar the same, you may be onto something today.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I told Nick, I was like, yeah, man, 5 is hard. 5 was hard.
So it should be good.
Yeah, mine are almost all offensive-minded players, but they're the ones I know, the ones that I see the most diverse game in, and the most commitment, and the most dependability.
Well, let's get it started.
Sorry about all that.
Oh no, you're good. Everyone's excited, including me, to see you on camera. So,
you know why? Even my wife isn't excited to see me anymore.
What?
All right, I'm gonna go live now.
Okay.
We are live with Michael Jordan Fans Are the Best, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 power forwards of all time. For the panel, we've got Sports and Fitness Rants, aka Robin. He's got his own channel. Go check it out if you like what he has to say. NMB Sports, also known as Nick. He also has his own channel. Go check him out if you like what he's got to say. Judge SP, it's not been here for a few weeks. Apparently he had a phone issue. He's a one-time trivia champion. Sorry, Robin's got 6, but one-time trivia champion. He's back today. And then Rex is here in the flesh. The only guy I know who has 33 subscribers on YouTube with 0 content. And he is also one-time trivia champion.
I was at 34 till just the other day. Evidently, I upset somebody. Or someone got smart, one or the
other. And for everybody, I just got monetized and I'm starting a membership program. If you'd like to become a base member and help support the community, I will put everything that is comes through any sort of membership, super thanks, or anything into the channel. The base membership is the same cost as a Gatorade. My first member is Seamus Corbett. My technical advisor. Just want to shout him out. And if you join, I'm going to be rolling out more stuff, but you could check the join list. And yeah, if you're interested, come check it out.
Quick question: how long did the review process take for you?
A day.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Rex, since you're in the flesh, how about you start with your top 5 power forwards of all time?
Okay, well, for me, I tried to go by era as much as I could, generally speaking, to try and represent, the entire history of the NBA. I started with Bob Pettit, and these are in no order. It's the top 5 that I believe. No real proof of it, just what I think. Bob Pettit, number 1. Then I have 3 from the 80s and 90s. I went with McHale, and that was on the edge. Malone and Barkley. And then for number 5, obviously, I went with Tim Duncan. I just don't think Giannis has done enough yet. I don't like ranking players at all, but especially someone that is still playing. And I decided to go with McHale over Garnett purely out of just popularity, just for my generation. Just that's the only reason. I almost went Garnett. In fact, if you wanted to argue it with me, I'll switch to Garnett.
Judge, what do you have to say about Rex's list? You're on mute.
I don't have a problem with his list. I think his list is legit. It's his opinion, right? Yep. But he has KG as a fringe player on his list, which I don't understand. But I'm not here to understand his list. I'm here to tell you mine. So I like McHale. On my list, I have an honorable mention. I have, Pettit on my list for honorable mention. I got Hayes. The biggest honorable mention is Kevin McHale, who I almost put him in my top 5. But his list is okay. It's okay.
Okay. What about you, Nick? What do you have to say about Rex's list?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I can't believe you left the blonde bomber Dirk Nowitzki off, of course. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I honestly, so the reason why I picked the power forwards is kind of growing up late 90s, 2000s, the power forward position was just absolutely stacked top to bottom throughout the league. So, I mean, to me, I think power forwards might be the hardest position to pick. There's really like a top 10, I think, where you couldn't go wrong with any of the top 10 in your top 5. And I feel like, centers and point guards, I think there is like a pretty easy top 5 at center and point guard. Shooting guards, I think you have like 2 or 3 that are easy, and then you can kind of throw in number 4 and 5. Same with small forwards. But man, power forwards, like I really think there's 10 guys you could rotate in and out of the top 10, and you couldn't go wrong really. So I mean, I'm fine with his list. I don't think anyone's gonna have a bad list, to be honest with you.
Well, to be honest, I left Dirk off to put on Pettit because I wanted to represent the old guys. I actually had Dirk on the list to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of like that, picking one guy from every era. That's actually, I kind of like that.
The only reason I didn't go with Hayes was just with the Bullets, he was like Mr. Offense, and Unseld was Mr. Defense.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I've always had McHale out on my top 5 on power forwards. And I know he's worthy of it, but just for whatever reason, I think McHale played with such a great front line. I think for some reason, I think that kind of bumps him down for me out of the top 5, but I definitely have him on my piece of paper here. So, I mean, Pettit too. Pettit was an absolute beast. He averaged like 27 and 14 or something for his career, which is nuts. He was like
the all-time leading scorer for a while.
Yeah. The Atlanta Hawks, by the way, have a sneaky all-time team.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they haven't won a ring, but they
They won in 50.
Or since the 50s, yeah. They have a sneaky all-time team, and Pettit spearheads that.
Beat Russell.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm fine with his list.
How about you, Robin? What do you have to say about Rex's list?
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe we actually have the same exact list except for Kevin McHale. I had Kevin McHale as an honorable mention, basically. And, like you guys are pretty much saying, listen, I guess when you talk about power forward, to me, Tim Duncan is the constant. When you think about Karl Malone, he's pretty much a constant to me. When you think about someone like a Charles Barkley, even when you think about the talent of a Charles Barkley, to me, Charles Barkley, man, he let us down, man. He really did. He could have been so much greater. He could have been a little bit more, I feel like, because he's that guy. I feel like when you talk about talent at the power forward position at his size, he was incredible. I mean, you've seen the highlights of him running the break early in the late 80s and the early 90s on that Philadelphia Sixers teams. He was doing some incredible stuff. But I believe you can rotate those guys. I think his list is spot on, man. I think Kevin McHale is worthy of being top 5. Kevin McHale is a very underrated defensive player. I think a lot of people don't think about him as a good defensive power forward, but I believe that Kevin McHale was, one of the great defensive power forwards, man. He was very solid in defensive. He had those long arms. People don't realize Kevin McHale had those long arms, man. He was able to, interrupt a lot of shots down there, man, Kevin McHale. So I think that his list is very good.
People don't pay attention to this, but it is a fact that Kevin McHale blocked the skyhook twice.
Nice.
In one of those finals too, wasn't he hurt against the Lakers?
Had an ankle. He played, but he had an ankle injury, and I think he still averaged something like 18 a game, 18 and 10 or 18 and 9 with an ankle injury that ended up making him miss the next season. I think he had the surgery after the final.
For everyone in the chat, I'm about to ask a trivia question. We're doing trivia throughout it. Please answer in the chat. I am beginning the recording of the chat trivia champions as of this live stream. Also, if you have any questions for anybody on the panel or want to have conversations between yourselves or make any comments, I will address them periodically. With that being said, Ren Sports is here. Welcome, Ren Sports. I know your next friend. He says it has to be Duncan, Dirk, KG, Malone, Barktown. If considered a 4, McHale is solid. And then he says LMAO, the blonde bomber, which I think is the first time I've heard that one too. So I will ask the first trivia question. How many teams did Dolph Schayes play for throughout his career?
Oh man.
1.
I'm going to say 1.
I'm going to go 2.
Syracuse Nationals.
1 team.
1 team. If you're in the chat, please put your answer in the chat.
Where are the sound effects?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Dart.
Uh-oh.
No,
Judge don't know about the sound effects.
He's muted.
You muted yourself. There you go.
Difficult. Okay.
You see, You see, he was fighting till he told him to do too much.
I hear that.
Yeah, the crow. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great.
See, we're all just role players.
Too much.
Yeah, my mic got unplugged somehow. All right. So Ren Sports, he says, I'm out. He says, Ren Sports says 2. Ren Sports says, purely guessing. There's been some time in the chat, so I will give the answer. The answer is 2 teams.
Really?
It was, yep, here we go. Nick gets the answer, his first one correct. It was the Syracuse Nationals and the Philadelphia Warriors or 76ers.
No, that is wrong. They're the same team. After the Warriors moved out to Oakland, Syracuse Nationals moved to Philadelphia and became the 76ers. It was the same team. They just moved.
I'm going to take my point.
All right. I'll give you all. I'll give you all because sure, that's a technicality. They did move, but
Good job, Rex.
Yeah, Rex saves everybody on technicality. Everybody gets a point.
Not technicality. If you look up 76ers all-time leading scorer.
No, I got you. No, I got you.
Actually, I think Barkley and maybe Dr. J passed him, I believe.
I'd have to look.
Yeah. Or Allen Iverson, I guess passed him. Yeah.
But yeah. No, I like just to the sentiment of everybody else, Rex, I think that your list, I like the idea of doing it era by era, although some of them overlapped. But I like the idea that you shouted out everyone per their era, which I think is honorable and is consistent with your stance that you can't really judge eras against each other. So I appreciate that, and I think that's a great list, particularly on that metric. Judge, I'm sorry.
Like I said, the toughest one was Garnett and McHale. I ended up just going with McHale because of Barkley's opinion of McHale, basically. That he was the toughest guy he ever played, ever.
Yeah.
That was the only reason. I actually officiated a Kevin Garnett game in South Carolina back in the early 90s.
Okay, yeah.
And he was 15, I think, and he was a sophomore, whatever age you are as a sophomore, and he was amazing. Played all 5 positions. He brought the ball down against pressure, would pass off, then go to the post. He would run the break when he had to on defense. Even then, he was calling out all the defensive switches. Yeah, he was amazing.
I actually know somebody who was his neighbor, but that's another story. Judge, since you have returned, the only reason that I gave Rex the floor is because I don't know if he's ever had his face on camera on YouTube, and at least not on this channel. But
I have. Back then, I was clean shaven.
Okay. Judge, welcome back yet again. And what's your list?
My list. Okay, so Nick was saying the same thing. Like, power forward it's a position that's oversaturated in basketball. There's so many guys. It's hard to leave out guys. But I have a honorable mention list. I have Chris Webber on my honorable mention list. I think the whole fiasco before the NBA, it kind of put a stain on him. He's not getting the respect he deserves. That whole Shaq and Kobe era with the referees, who knows how that could have went, but Chris Webber is there. And I flip-flopped with this one guy, putting him on my top 5, taking him out my top 5. It's interchangeable with Kevin McHale. I'm big on Kevin McHale, and I feel that because he played on such a stacked team of Hall of Fame players and all NBA players, well, Larry Bird, I think that because he was such a team-oriented kind of guy, he was cool to share the spotlight. He just wanted to win. I don't think we even saw the best of Kevin McHale, right? But I have on my list, and I have it in order too. I don't know who's going to put theirs in order. I have mine in order too. I put Nowinski at 5. I have him comparable to Kevin McHale, but just him going to the finals twice, spearheading it, getting it done once, especially in the way that he got it done, revolutionizing the position, and especially coming out of Europe, because at the time, how many Hall of Fame players were coming out of Europe? He's kind of like the mold for a lot of these new guys coming out. So he had a big burden coming out of Germany, and he was a fabulous player. Then I have, this is the tough part, between 4 and 3. I have Karl Malone at 4, and I have Charles Barkley at number 3. If everyone on here, especially Rex, you guys are all older guys, to relate just how impactful, how dominant Charles Barkley was in basketball, they had to change a rule for the man. When you look at his numbers, the man is averaging like 24, 25 points a game, but it's his field goal percentage in 5-on-5 basketball. The man is averaging like 55% from the field And if he wasn't this kind of guy, we don't know why Truck was trying to shoot 3-pointers. His 2-point field goal is in the 60s, in the 70s. So that means Charles is scoring anytime he wants. He's doing whatever he wants. You cannot stop him. And he's 6'6". He's 6'6". Everyone's bigger than him. I have him high. The only reason why I don't have him in my top 2 is just because of defensive stats. I don't care that he never played till he's 40. I don't care that he never won a ring. Anyone who understands I'm big on context, bro. I'm huge on context. Anyone who understands the ineptitude of the Philadelphia 76ers organization in the late 80s when they had a gemstone in this guy, I don't know how they never built a title team around him before the Bulls got it around Michael. He was going through the Pistons. He should be able to get one done. And as soon as he left, he went to the finals. So I have him at number 3. He never had the help Karl Malone had with John Stockton and the organization and Jerry Sloan. So I have, with Malone and Barkley, I do not know when their primes began, and I do not know when their primes ended, because when they were old, they were still doing it, and they were never defensive players. And then there's my number 2 and my number 1. And I know what everyone thinks you're going to say, but I'm going to spice it up today.
I have an idea what you're going to say, and I'm waiting for it.
And everybody who was in the 2000s watching ball, except for Rex, we were saying the exact same thing too. And I know at some point I got to say Tim Duncan because he has the accolades. He's got 5 rings. And it's true. He is number 1. But he really is interchangeable 1A, 1B with Kevin Garnett. Because if you look at Kevin Garnett's stats, what he was doing in the Western Conference, he was putting up bigger numbers than Tim Duncan. And he never had the organization. He never had the coaching. He never had the players around him. What if KG had players? He's dominant defensively. This guy can guard every position. He could bring the ball up the court, as Rex was saying. I think he's better than Giannis because he could shoot better than Giannis, right? And you can't really, if you really want to be fair on this channel, we have to say there may be a 1A, 1B with these 2 gentlemen. Because to this day, I still don't understand Kevin Garnett, to this day. And as soon as he left and played with guys who were in their 30s, this guy won a ring. This guy won Defensive Player of the Year at like 31 or 32. Like, we're all old enough to know who KG is. And Tim Duncan, it goes without even saying. I don't got to get into Tim Duncan, right? Like, Tim Duncan is the top 10 guy of all time. But I won't do the era thing because I believe that there's some guys who did more for their era than guys in another era. So I have to put KG and Tim Duncan in this conversation on the list. And that's why I left out McHale and other guys. It was a hard-ass list, man. I don't know if everyone has KG number 1, but I kind of have him. I have Duncan number 1, but I kind of have KG number 1.
All right. Nick, what do you have to say about Judge's list?
Hey, that's kind of what my list looks like, to be honest with you. So far, I agree with his list probably almost like to a T, 99%. So I got nothing to say about his list. That's kind of largely what mine looks like.
Okay. What about
if you had a problem with my list, what would you say? That 1%.
Man, I don't know, cause if I can tell the truth, like after Dirk, KG's probably my favorite, like subjective player myself to watch. I think like if I was good in the NBA, I probably would have acted a lot like Garnett. I probably would have had that same demeanor. He's like a little crazy, like he's really cool, but once he snaps, like he just wants to like destroy everybody. I always liked watching him play. He definitely had that edge about him. I mean, the stats are there, the game, the skill set's there, defense, offense. And if I remember right, watching him and Duncan play, KG KG got the better of Tim Duncan a lot of times when they played. I mean, Duncan obviously had the better team. It's kind of like the Wilt and Bill kind of argument a little bit. But yeah, like KG, man, KG was a monster, dude. He really was. And, you know, even being as much as I like Dirk and, you know, he's my favorite player ever, just personally, like KG's right there with them. I love me some KG. I guess, like, who was your 5 again? Who'd you have in the 5th spot?
Dirk.
I had Dirk at 5, and then I had Malone, then I had Barkley, and then the 2 guys at the top.
I probably have Malone a little lower, Karl Malone. I mean, he played with Stockton his whole career. You know, a little to be desired, maybe a little bit, like in terms of an overall game compared to like someone like KG, but that's about it. Maybe I have Karl Malone as my 5, so, but that's.
Oh,
me.
you have Dirk above Malone.
I have Dirk above Malone. I'm a little biased, I admit, but I think Dirk in 2011, man, like, as much as, I mean, you know, Malone just played for a long time and scored a lot of points and all that, but I mean, dude, Dirk in 2011, like, he separates himself from those other guys. Like, in my mind, in my opinion. I know I'm a little biased, whatever. I'm not going to push back if you think Malone's better, but, you know, he has a lot of points, he has a lot of rebounds, but going to the finals twice and you didn't get one, you know, like, if Malone got one, he's over Dirk. And I know he went up against Jordan, right, but I just think Dirk in 2011, man, that run is so crazy. He left no doubts. He just buzzsaw through the whole NBA. Man, it's just hard sometimes whenever I think about winning a ring, how much that meant to his career and separated him from a lot of the guys who didn't. You know, like, man, Barkley, like you said, man, Barkley should have got a ring too. It just sucks those 2 guys never got one, you know, so you have to think about it like if you want a guy on your franchise, right? You want the guy who brought home the title. Like, that's ultimately why we're playing, you know? So that's kind of like it's like this, right? I mean, the difference is so small, but
it is. And that's the same thing I had under Malone, because I believe guys like Dirk Nowitzki, they were able to tap in to that extra gear of perseverance, and he had little momentum from the last finals he lost, and D Wade and them talking ish about him. Like, he was able to channel it in, where Malone never had that 6th gear. He had his body, his percentages, his numbers, but he never had that last gear. And if you look at his stat numbers in the finals, except he averaged less points in the finals. He didn't turn it up the way Michael turned it up. And I'm like, if you're going against Jordan, he's turning it up, you need to turn it up too. And he didn't get that, but he's still top 5 to me.
And a lot of times we talk about eras, right? I mean, Hakeem got the better of Malone. Jordan got the better of Malone. You know, it's just one of those, at some point, to be, like, above everyone, you have got to get to the top of the mountain, you know?
All right. Robin, what do you think about Judge's list?
Give me, Robbie.
You guys said a lot of nonsensical things right there, man. I can't believe you guys said half the things you guys just said right now. Oh, my goodness gracious. Listen. That was a really good list, Judge. Judge's list is official. Kevin Garnett being that close to Tim Duncan all time, I think is kind of a little crazy. But if you're talking about Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett at the peaks, Kevin Garnett at his peak play, his all-around play, versus Tim Duncan at his peak all-around play, if you're saying that in a vacuum, then yes, I would say that maybe, yes, they're close. I would say Kevin Garnett his all-around game was greater than Tim Duncan's all-around game on the offensive end. Absolutely. His all-around moves, the way he could handle, the way he could, move, finish under the rim, all those things. He was a way better athlete than Tim Duncan was. So you're right. He was quicker. He ran the floor better. He did a lot of those things. But as far as him being that close career-wise with Tim Duncan, I don't think he's that close to Tim Duncan career-wise. So I don't think you could say 1A and 1B. I think if you're going to put Garnett that high, he's a number 2 then. You got to put him at number 2. You can't say he's above Tim Duncan. I just think that's crazy when we're talking about the greatest of all time. We're not talking about who had the best peak or things like that. Let's not forget, Tim Duncan was great defensively himself for a very, very long time, basically, essentially from the minute he came into the NBA to the minute he left the NBA. he was still an all defensive player. I mean, he was all defense his first year in the league on the second team. I mean, so let's not sleep on Tim Duncan's defense here. Was he as athletic as Kevin Garnett in the defensive end? No, I would say that Kevin Garnett was better at getting things like maybe steals and things like that. But as far as like shot blocking, I would say they're pretty much even. And I would say Kevin Garnett was a better rebounder. So yeah, I would say that it's close at their peaks. At the peaks. The greatness of Tim Duncan, though, can't be understated. As far as everybody else, Barkley and Karl Malone, I would put Charles Barkley ahead of Karl Malone. Now, NNB, you're giving a lot of stock into the championships. These guys didn't win rings. But once again, we have to think about, I think you're shortchanging Michael Jordan a little bit here when you're saying that. Let's not forget, that's part of Michael Jordan's greatness. Those kind of guys did not win rings. These were all-time great players, Charles Barkley or Karl Malone. Charles Barkley was sensational in the 93 finals. They did not lose that finals because Charles Barkley played poorly. When you talk about the 2011 run, I mentioned this before. LeBron James laid an egg. He laid an egg in 2011. Charles Barkley did not lay an egg in 1993. He lost that because Michael Jordan scored 41 points a game. 41 points a game. I mean, it was the incredible play of Michael Jordan that stopped some of these guys from winning. You can say whatever you want. I think Dirk is on the fringe of a top 5. The one thing about Dirk that I want to mention when we talk about being a foreign player, let's not shortchange someone like a Detlef Schrempf. Detlef Schrempf in the 90s was a really good all-around player. His all-around play in the 90s was very, very good. He won several Sixth Man of the Year awards, and he was from Germany. So I'm not saying that was like Dirk Nowitzki's idol or anything like that, but someone like a Detlef Schrempf, I'm sure was like a early version of a Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki in the 90s wouldn't have been like that because he wasn't that kind of player. He was more of a shooter. He's probably the greatest shooting power forward of all time. No questions about it.
The reason why I like what you're saying, I'm not going against what you're saying, but if I can say something, I know about Schrempf. I watched Schrempf. I'm a Supersonics guy back in the 90s. So the reason why I say Dirk is because I feel Dirk's talent was higher than Schrempf. He's an MVP, first team All-NBA caliber player. And the only reason why we don't see him on more first teams is because he played in the era with two gods. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. When we look at the papers, we say Tim Duncan. We do. Anybody can look at Tim Duncan. He's got 5 rings. KG's got 1. But what I'm saying is, when I look at the context of why Tim Duncan has 5 or why KG only has 1, it makes me scratch my chin because I'm doing some research, and it's been a few years, but when you look at KG, bro, KG had 3 or 4 years of his prime where he didn't get to go to the playoffs between the ages of 27 and 30 years old. And it's not because of Kevin Garnett. It's because of the Minnesota Timberwolves may be on the top 5. We may have to do a list. Who are the top 5 most incompetent?
It's because Stephon Marbury left his ass.
That was earlier. That's true, but that was in earlier. They had Wally Serbiak.
It would have been a dynamic duo for years.
It would have been crazy. It would have been crazy seeing Coney Island. But what I'm saying is, when you look at the stats between 27 and 30 years old, do you realize what Kevin Garnett was doing when he was in the playoffs before he couldn't go? He was averaging like 17, 18 rebounds a game. He was doing monster things in his prime that Tim Duncan wasn't doing. Now, everything you're saying is right about Duncan, especially defensively. He's a way better shot blocker than Kevin Garnett, but that's about it. Everything else, KG had more talent than the man. If we can have a list of the most incompetent offices in NBA history, you're going to see Minnesota on that list, and it impacts Kevin Garnett. But he is number 2. I said he was number 2. He may be a 1B. That's what I'm saying.
All right, Rex, what do you have to say?
You guys all remember in the 2000s, we were all talking. We never knew each other, but we were like, yo, what if KG had a team? Oh, my God. Like,
yeah, he got Sam Cassell and Latrell Sprewell there. They went to the Western Conference Finals. I think they lost to the Spurs, though.
Yeah.
Rex, what do you have to say about the list?
Well, let's see. Number 5, you had Dirk, right? All right. Quick funny, this is to speak to what Nick was talking about. Dirk, after he lost in 2006, would always go back into Germany in the summer and work with the same trainer every summer. Well, what they decided after 2006 was he was going to work on one move, perfect it, and never use it until he got to the finals again. And he had to wait 5 years. But in 2011, and you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, his fourth quarter stats that year, that's because he posted up and he did that left-handed move in the post that he had been working on every summer for 5 years since they lost to Dwayne Wade and Shaq in 06, and he never showed it to anyone. No other team in the NBA had any scouting report of that shot. And then he broke it out against Miami in 2011, and that's what won them the championship. Number 4, you had Malone. The thing with Malone to me is he was so consistent, but like Robin was saying, in the big crunch time, I mean, where are the videos of Malone hitting all the crunch, all the big shots? It was actually John Stockton that would always take the big shots. And he hit one against Phoenix to get to the finals. And then after Jordan hit the shot against Byron Russell, it was actually Stockton that took the last shot of that game, that if he would have made it, would have sent it to Game 7, but he missed. Going next to, you had Barkley. Barkley was more explosive than Malone and far more versatile. His ball handling, outside shot, which he shot like 20-something% from 3, but he shot it well enough. And the reason he shot it, when you were asking, why did he shoot it? Because as he got older, he lost his leaping ability and his amazing athleticism he had when he was younger and heavier. He slimmed down to 250, but he lost that top level of his leap and a little bit of his quickness, so he would be competent enough at the 3, so his defender would just lean and take that little half a step out so he could then drive. That was something he learned as he got older, because he couldn't take the young guns like Duncan and Garnett down in the post anymore as he got older. And if you notice, when he goes out to Phoenix, he not Cotton, but Westfall actually played him at the 3 on occasion. So he had more outside shots, which hurt his field goal percentage. But I still don't understand why Kevin Johnson took that last shot and got blocked by Horace Grant rather than Barkley getting that. I will never understand that ever. That coaching call was the worst coaching call in NBA history, other than Van Bredekoff not putting Wilt back in the game. Second is Westfall calling the final play for Kevin Johnson and not Charles Barkley. That blows my mind to this day, 30 years later.
Popovich taking out Duncan.
And talking, also you mentioned Philadelphia and how they could never build a team. They had the best team in the NBA when Barkley joined them. But with the expansion era, they lost their GM. Billy Cunningham left and went to Miami and built the Miami Heat. That's why they couldn't build a team around Barkley. Just because you make more teams doesn't mean you have the same caliber of players or you have the same caliber of team management and coaching to go around. Riley left New York, and who was the other one? The other guy from Philly, Williams, went to Orlando. They lost their front office when as Malone and Dr. J retired, Tony's health deteriorated, Bobby Jones retired. they lost their front office to the expansion teams. And that was that. They never rebuilt the same kind of dominance again, ever, because their Hall of Fame front office left to go to expansion teams. So that's why Philadelphia could never build around Barkley. Kevin Garnett, to me, was just too erratic emotionally. To me. I loved his game. Game was amazing. Like I said, I actually saw him, like on the court, saw him going. And when he was young, and you could see there, he's still the greatest high school age player I ever saw in person. It was, and we didn't know he was going to grow 4 more inches, you know. But he was wildly erratic emotionally just when I saw him. And I think McHale in Minnesota was trying to mold him into something that maybe he should have let Garnett just develop naturally a little bit more. I don't know if you all know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, Garnett, like I said, Garnett was this close to making my list. I picked his mentor, McHale, over him. And then, going back to when, Nick, when you were talking about Malone's averages in the finals. You mentioned that, right?
You're on mute, Nick.
Judge mentioned that.
Oh, Judge, okay. All right, well, look at those 2 finals. Okay? He was being covered by Dennis Rodman. When you talk about Jordan averaging 40, who was covering Jordan? Byron Russell. All right, well, obviously one guy's stats are going to be exemplary. The other guy's stats are going to struggle because a Hall of Fame defender is covering him. So that's why I don't put a whole lot of emphasis on individual stats in certain situations like that. I mean, that's just how it turned out. That's how it came out. But I don't think anyone argues that Chicago had the better team those years. That was pretty obvious, I thought. I'm surprised they actually went to 6, to be honest with you. After that first game in it was 97, right? Where Utah scored 80 points. The lowest scoring playoff game in history. They were held to like 80 points in game 1 of the finals. I mean, I was fully expecting Chicago to sweep them, to be honest. Anyway, that's all the stories I got about it.
Malone's stats in the finals are very comparable to his stats in the playoffs, and that's why I mentioned that Karl Malone in the regular season is pretty much very steady Karl Malone in the playoffs. There wasn't that extra gear where you going from 25 points a game.
Yeah, he was just consistent. Yeah. When it came to the clutch moments, he does, like I said, he Google, YouTube it. I don't know if there is a, clutch moment video of Karl Malone. I don't think
that's why I don't know why you're mentioning Michael Jordan, how Michael Jordan was being covered by Byron Russell. It didn't matter who Michael Jordan was facing in the playoffs. Michael Jordan he's an 8-speed transmission. He's going to bump it up. And Karl Malone was able to always bump it up. That's my only thing against Malone.
There was a comparison being made. So you said you're big on context. So I gave context to the comparison. That's all I said.
Nice.
I said nothing negative about Michael Jordan. Everyone calls me a Michael Jordan hater. It's like I believe he's the greatest shooting guard ever, and have said that 10,000 times.
Well, you have to be correct, Rex. You must be correct.
I'm
you
always
were not correct when you were speaking. You were speaking incorrectly about Michael Jordan. Speak correctly. When Michael Jordan averaged 41 points a game, it was not against the Utah Jazz. It was against the Phoenix Suns. And why didn't Michael Jordan average 41 points, though, Rex? Let's put the context there, since you want to be making context.
We're talking about Utah.
Why? When he went to 41 points a game, he didn't average 41 points a game against the Utah Jazz. You know why? Because the Utah Jazz were one of the greatest defensive teams of that era. They were a solid defensive team.
Yes,
it's team defense. Don't name me individual defensive players to try to crap on Michael Jordan's greatness. We do that too much. Don't name individual
No one was
defenders.
dropping on his greatness.
What I'm saying,
you
talking
rant about things that aren't even said.
man, you talking about Byron Russell, dude.
You and Nick's debate, you did the same thing.
Bringing up Byron Russell. What does Byron Russell guarding Michael Jordan have to do in a conversation about greatest power forwards of all time, Rex? You're ranting on. You're the one carrying on, not making sense. Don't get it twisted here, Rex. Don't get it twisted.
We've been waiting for him.
The Phoenix Suns were the #1 offensive team in 1993. The #1 offensive team. That's why he had to score that many points. That's why he scored 41. It had nothing to do with who was guarding him. Don't ever let that stuff creep out your mouth. You're lying.
Excuse me? Dude, I've forgotten more about basketball than you will ever know.
That's what you say. You're all talk, Rex. You're all talk, man.
That's why Nick's laughing, because he knows what he's responding to his comment.
You brought up Byron Russell in a conversation about power forward. You brought Byron Russell up guarding Michael Jordan. Stop the nonsense. Stop it.
All right.
It's getting real good.
As did you about Jordan's points per game in the finals as opposed to Malone.
Father's Day fight, man. Father's Day fight.
It's no
man.
fight.
Father's
I'm just
Day
trying
fight.
to explain to someone not as intelligent how it works.
No.
Oh, that's easy. Here we go.
No, because
there goes Rex.
what you're doing is you're bringing up Dennis Rodman.
Yo, Rex, stop it, man.
It's got nothing to do with Dennis Rodman. It's got nothing to do with Dennis Rodman. It's Karl Malone consistently throughout his career does not have a sixth gear. That's what we're talking about, not Dennis Rodman.
Excuse me, Judge.
Yeah.
Do you not remember me agreeing with you on that twice? Twice.
No, I'm bringing up your point.
I said it twice. He was very consistent, but the clutch video, the video on YouTube of his clutch moments isn't there. I said it twice.
Right.
Why are you saying I said something different? This is what drives me crazy about all you guys. You're not listening to what I'm saying. You're just listening to what you want to hear so you can argue back something. When I literally agreed with you twice, and now you're arguing at me when I literally agreed with you twice. Bravo.
All right. For everybody in the chat, let me address the chat. I see that Ren Sports has left already, but I just want to read some of these comments off. Ren Sports says, the Dream shut down Barkley, dream of a title, so did MJ. Kind of some bad luck running into those beasts. Big Ticket was a beast defensively and on the boards. Great trash talker. Cassell, KG, Sprewell got slapped by Lakers as well. He said Stockton makes Malone, I think. And happy Father's Day, guys. Got to hit some family stuff up. Good panel. If you watch this back, Ren, thank you for coming. Tony Boots, that same Jazz team was mopping the floor with the Lakers and the Spurs on the way to those finals. Yep. Ren Sports, Jazz team couldn't get past Houston or Bulls. That Jazz team wasn't playing the Spurs in their prime. Ren is back. Rex, bring in the heat. Let me give one more gunshot out just in honor of all that. But yes, if you're in the chat and you'd like to participate, please ask questions for the panel. Please participate in the trivia. I'm going to be asking a trivia question again right now. What power forward in the 2001-2002 season won the Rookie of the Year award?
2001.
I'm going to say Pau Gasol.
LaMarcus Aldridge.
Pau Gasol.
Keith Van Horn. I have no idea. I have no clue.
Oh, is that a throwback from the debate with the Keith Van Horn?
Yeah.
Tony Boots says, happy Father's Day to you fellas. Happy Father's Day to you, Tony. I'll give you guys a couple seconds in the live chat to put your who you think won the 2001-2002 Rookie of the Year award. Who was a power forward?
Did Aldridge come in that long ago?
No, I think I got that wrong.
Tony Boots, the question was, who won the Rookie of the Year award in the 2001-2002 season? Who was a power forward?
I think Gasol is right now that I think about it.
I can't think of any other power forwards, top power forwards that came in then.
I guess I wasn't thinking as Gasol as a power forward, really.
Yeah, I always consider him center. With the Lakers, didn't he play center? With the Lakers?
Bynum did.
Bynum wasn't always there. He was.
I think later on, Gasol took more of a center role, but I think early on he was a power forward.
He was power forward and then switched center.
He was always a power forward. He never liked playing center. But for the triangle to work with his passing ability, and Lamar owed him at the 4, and they had to put him at the 5.
Ren Sports says wasn't in a split. Miller. So are you guys reneging your answers? Is everyone saying Gasol, or
no?
Is it...
I mean, I said Aldridge, so I mean,
I have no idea.
Stick with Aldridge.
I think it sounds to me like Pau Gasol would be correct, but I never said that.
Who said Keith Van?
They said it.
Who said Keith Van Horn?
He was joking.
That was a joke.
All right.
Well, Marcus Aldridge was 2007, if I believe.
He was later, 2007.
Right? Yeah, he was later.
Yep. For the chat, is the last second. The answer is Pau Gasol.
Yeah.
So Judge and Robin have 2, and Nick and Rex have 1.
Now, does Marc Gasol, he play center or power forward?
I think
he's a big ass center.
Yeah,
he's a big ass center.
He stays a center, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't think he's ever been listed as a forward.
He's an XL center.
I would see him more as a kind of like a lesser version of Sabonis, more than Pau's little brother. I don't think he plays as much like Pau does as he does Sabonis.
All right. I want to quickly give my opinion on Judge's list. You guys might hate me for this, and I'm not saying he wasn't a great player, but I think Kevin Garnett is one of the most overrated NBA players of all time.
Explain yourself.
Well, the whole comparison with Tim Duncan, you said they had the same skill set. He was a better athlete. Sorry, let me do this. He was a better athlete than Duncan. But I think the fundamental skill set that Tim Duncan had was able to, for one, it's proven for how good he was up until the beginning of his career to the end of his career. He was always consistent. He always played at a high level. I think he was on all NBA team the second to last year before he retired, let alone all defensive team. It was his skill set, not his athleticism, that kept him on an all NBA team up until 38, 39 years old. Garnett, I'm not saying he wasn't a great player. I'm just saying I think he's probably the most overrated, and I think they just wanted to have that competition. And he was entertaining. Him screaming and, all the erratic stuff that Rex was portraying or talking about. You want to watch that on TV. That's the fun stuff. But in comparison to was he as good of a basketball player skill set wise, I think he may have been a more natural talent, especially with his athleticism. He could shoot farther out. He did win a Defensive Player of the Year. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe Tim Duncan was on way more.
Didn't he win 2 or no?
No, 1 Defensive Player of the Year. I'm looking at it. 4-time rebounding champion, which I didn't realize either.
Yeah,
that's what I said. He's a better rebounder than Tim Duncan.
Well, according to, I remember one thing that Mikhail said about Kevin Garnett. His weakness on defense was holding his position against bigger players, where Tim Duncan never had that issue against anyone.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan's strong point on defense wasn't getting blocks, which he got a lot of, or getting steals. It was playing solid defense and not allowing you to even get a shot off or be able to make an offensive move, where your best option was to pass to a teammate, was Tim Duncan's best attribute as a defender.
Is Duncan number 1 in defensive win shares?
I think so.
I don't even know what that is.
I think
him and Russell are up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember his win shares or rating, but I know that him and Russell are far above everybody else in those analytics and advanced stats.
Okay, wow. Russell's Russell's number 1 by actually quite a lot. Tim Duncan's way closer to number 3 than he is to Russell.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is that, yeah, Garnett was he is an all-time great. But when people say that he's like what you had said, Judge, I don't think he's in the same stratosphere as Tim Duncan. And for me, just to give a little sneak peek, he's not even in my top 5. Ooh. So, yeah.
What? Dart, what are you saying, bro?
Where do y'all think Alonzo Mourning would have been without the kidney issue?
As a center? He's a center.
Well, I don't know. It just popped into my head.
Great defense.
That's something you never hear anyone
wanted
talk
on the
about.
offensive end, but
You think so?
defender.
Yeah. I just, for some reason, he just popped in my head when I was talking about holding defensive position and everything.
Dart, I have the numbers with. This is the only part that I did research on was Duncan and KG, bro. I remember the eyeball tests. I remember who each guy played with. You mentioned Coney Island took off, right? Their numbers are pretty much the same. KG gets more rebounds, KG gets more assists, Duncan gets more blocks. They average around the same amount of points per game. They score different ways. Duncan is better in the post. KG is good in the post. He can hit that 15-footer better. He's quicker. They're almost the same person on paper. But when you look at, and then I went and I looked at their prime numbers between the ages of 24 to 30 years old, 24 to 29 years old. I looked at the prime numbers because the top end on each side of the beginning and their end, it skews up what they really did in their primes. And KG's numbers in his prime is higher than Tim Duncan's in his prime at some seasons by a long shot. Now, of course, it's because Tim Duncan's also passing the ball too. And if he wasn't such a unselfish guy, he could have averaged more points outside of Pop's system. I'll give him that. I think Duncan could have averaged 30 and 29 and 10 his whole life if he wanted to, right? So I have Duncan higher. I'm just saying, if I want to be fair, I think Kevin Garnett's very closer than people realize. But you have him outside your top 5. You don't have him on your list, bro. What's your list? I need to hear your list.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Oh, man.
But yeah, no, I mean, he's a great player. I'm not trying to say he sucked or anything. Obviously, he's one of the best. But I have a different parameter of what I'm going to be portraying as my top 5. And not even different. I'm not saying that I don't believe this list, but it's just going against the grain with what a lot of people are saying. But yeah, no, I think with and one thing again, it's kind of like the Bill Russell Celtics argument and the Tim Duncan Spurs argument. I think they're very similar. And I'm not saying they didn't have great players on the team, but you go and look at where they drafted their star players. Like Tony Parker was a late first-round pick. Manu was, I think, the last pick in the draft. And then they pick a lot of guys that they get out of free agency that are role players. And people go and they say, like, oh, well, you know, that team was just amazing.
Yeah, I got Timmy D.
But you go, how about you compare those Timberwolves
I
and
went
those
back
Celtics
and forth
teams
with Dirk and KG.
with the
I probably
talent,
got KG number
just like
2.
you could do with the Lakers teams
I got Dirk
back
3.
in the 60s and the 50s. Why don't you compare the
Barkley
talent,
4,
individual
Malone
talent,
5.
with the team talent? The team just was a better team.
And
so I hate when people are like, "Oh, they had Tony Parker."
Five.
Nick, you're muted. I don't know if you're talking to me.
I'm talking to myself.
But,
sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So to me, it's just a difference between having a great team, but when they're like, "Oh, it's Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili," and I'm not saying they're not all-time great players, but to say that they were lauded as great talents outside of being put in a system and then being very productive, I think is not honest. They just did great in a great system, and they're great players. They're in the NBA. They're obviously great players. But and on a sidebar, I know Rex has brought up the watered down league, and I'm not trying to go after everybody because I want to keep this power forward discussion going. But I mean, for me, the top 500 players in the world and the top 300 players in the world, a lot of it has to do with the team and the chemistry, how good these people do. So to me, it's just something that I think is I think that's overlooked a lot. It's just how the team works together. It's not necessarily just individual talents. Now, obviously, those people have to be on the team and do well together, and they have to be great basketball players. But that's all I'm saying.
And don't forget Bruce Bowen, man. Bruce Bowen did a lot of that dirty work. Allow a lot of those other guys to just focus on offense.
Yeah. So Nick, I believe it's your time. Your time for the list.
All right, so I think we all have Tim Duncan as number 1, so I'll say that one. I went back and forth with Dirk and KG at number 2 and 3 a lot. I ended up giving it to KG, as much as it pains me to say that. I just think his defensive contributions give him a little bit of an edge over Dirk. I got Dirk at number 3, the best 3-level power forward scoring big man ever. Can essentially... His nickname should have been the mismatch, is what Dirk's nickname should have been. I wish someone would have coined that term for him back in his career. I think the way Rick Carlisle used him and things like that, I think if you know how to use Dirk, he's the ultimate mismatch. If you know how to use him, he just causes fits for the defense. Everyone's got to pay attention to him. I got him 3. I put Barkley 4, the best pound-for-pound first step the NBA's ever seen, in my opinion. And then I had Malone at 5, and so that's my list, and we can talk about it, but I'll tell my own few stories about the power forwards. So obviously I grew up in Texas. Me and my dad would go to the high school state championships every so often. I got to see, I guess this was about 2099, something like that. I got to see Chris Bosh and Kendrick Perkins play in the 4A state championship. Perkins was at Beaumont Ozen, and Chris Bosh was at Dallas Lincoln. Dallas Lincoln's like a 4A powerhouse in terms of basketball. I saw Chris Bosh ate his lunch. Lincoln beat Beaumont Ozen really bad. That was really cool to watch, because at that time, Kendrick Perkins was like the man. Everyone was talking, because he was such a big body, and he was like mini Shaq at the time, and everyone thought he was unstoppable. And then he ran into Chris Bosh, and Chris Bosh just out-finessed and out-maneuvered him all over the floor. It was really fun to watch. And then later on, I got to see, it was an early playoff game, and LaMarcus Aldridge went to Seagoville, I think it's called, and they were playing Dallas Lincoln again, and he was easily the best player on the floor. He went like 16 of 18 for like 40 points, and then Seagoville lost on like a last-second rebound putback by Dallas Lincoln, and it was crazy. So those are just a couple of my like stories. I got to see a few guys play when they were in high school. That was really cool, and they were all power forwards. And so, but yeah, that's my list. I got Duncan, KG, Dirk, Barkley, Malone. Of course, I'm a little biased with the Dirk. So if you wanted to leave Dirk at like 6 or 7 or outside the top 5, I'm not going to push back too hard. Left a little bit, wanting on the defensive end. I understand that. Although for a while there, he was only like one of 3 players to average like 25 and 11 in the playoffs, like him, Akeem, and somebody else. So, I think his rebounding gets knocked. I think his defense is not as horrible as people make it out to be. I mean, he can be exposed a little bit. When him and Nash played in that series, and essentially Dirk would just score on Nash, and Nash would just score on Dirk. But that's my list. I got Duncan, KG, Dirk, Barkley, and Malone. Giannis was really close. I think Rex mentioned it. If he just kind of keeps playing the way he does, he'll be in the top 5 by the time he's done. Mikhail was
maybe sooner than that.
Yeah. I mean, you could put him in the top 5. I don't think people would fight you too hard on it, but he's definitely top 10. I mean, that's for sure. Mikhail and Giannis were right outside my top 5. That's pretty, and Pettit. So that's probably my top 8. If I could have a top 8, I would throw Mikhail, Giannis, and Pettit in there. In terms of those 3 guys, were my next ones outside the top 5. But yeah, that's my list.
All right. Real fast before we get to Robin's opinion on this, I'm just going to address the chat. I feel like I should address it more than I have been, getting that feeling. Tony Boot says, happy Father's. Tony Boat says, yeah, not 100% sure. I would guess I'd go with Gasol. Trying to remember when Stoudemire came. Aldridge was definitely later. Oh, damn. KG overrated, coming in with the hot take. Chris Raba. Oh, there you go. Chris Raba, or I'm just saying, bro, says Rex on cam. Hey, trying to listen while I'm at work. Appreciate it. Appreciate your support. Tony Boots says, okay, fellas, would like to stick around for the stream and trivia, but have to go and hang with family. Until next time. All right. Robin, what's your opinion on Knicks?
Come at me.
Oh, man. No, I think his list is solid, man. You know, when we talk about Dirk Nowitzki, you know, you guys have KG and Dirk pretty high. I'm actually surprised how high you guys have them. I thought maybe you guys would have had him at like 5, maybe, or in that range. But I think when we think about Dirk Nowitzki, I think, you know, when I was growing up and you think about the power forward position, you always think about physicality, right? You mentioned rebounding NNB. When I think about power forwards, these are the kind of guys that I'm thinking about. A Charles Barkley, you know, a Tim Duncan, a Karl Malone, you know, these bangers, guys that will give you elbows in the chest, guys that will give you elbows in the face. You know, these really, you know, big, tough-minded guys, these low down and dirty, gritty kind of guys. For me, when I think about Dirk, he, like you said, he revolutionized that position. Like you said, he's the greatest shooter in that position. I mean, it's not even close, man. The range that he could shoot, that he could extend the defense to. I mean, in terms of changing the way the power forward position is now, you know, he's probably the greatest power forward of all time in that regard. But for me personally, when I think about, you know, the power forwards traditionally, I just don't know if I could have put him above someone like a Bob Pettit. I don't know if I could have put him above Charles Barkley just for me. But I think you have a really good list. I think everybody's list here is really good. Like you guys said, you can interchange a lot of these guys, the honorable mention guys, you know, all these guys. But yeah, I think I'm just surprised you guys had these guys like number 2 all time or number 3 all time. But I respect it.
Yeah, I think, you know, KG needs some credit, too, I mean, KG had an 18-20 footer, too, that was pretty deadly. I mean, he was pretty good. He could step back and hit a little bit of range on you as well. I guess, you know, it's like when you think about, you know, the older guys, like you were saying, they'd bang down low and they were tough and big. I guess, like, when you see someone like KG and Dirk who can bring the big guy out to them out on the perimeter, it just sort of takes all that away in a big way. I mean, now they can't even rebound as well because now they're 20 feet away from the basket. I mean, it's just when a guy can do that to the other bigs, it really negates a lot of that banging that they do down low in terms of what they're good at, right? It gets them, and like you said, it changes the game. It pulls them away from the basket and just totally changes the dynamic of guys who can only bang down low but aren't true centers. Now they're kind of in a no man's land, you know, and it's really tough to guard guys like that.
All right, Rex, what do you have to say about Nick's list?
Well, I mean, I agree with it. I can see the whole thing, and his point of view. We talked somewhat about this between ourselves with Dirk and all, and I remember, and I had mentioned it to him. When I was, you know, when Bird was doing his thing, the talk around where I was from was, you know, imagine if a 7-footer came out that could hit threes like Bird, you know, win 3 straight, you know, shooting and all that. And then here he comes. Dirk comes along, you know, and that's literally what we were talking about. You know, and this is one thing that I hate about the 3-point shot is it was originally put in, and different organizations had 3-point shots going all the way back to the 1930s. But the reason the 3-point shot was always put in every single instance was to give the smaller players a better chance at being successful on the court, having a bigger impact, because it was all the big trees always made the decisive plays. You know, when basketball's tall guys. That's why the 3 was originally brought in every instance. But now, once Dirk came, and this is where I get Robin saying you could argue that Dirk is actually the most impactful power forward ever, period. because that argument, that reasoning is now long gone. Nobody looks at the three-pointer now really as the little man's weapon. You got guys 7 foot, said Porzingis 7'3", Wemby coming in at 7'5"? Is he 7'5"? I think
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, knocking down these threes at high percentages. I mean, consistent high percentages, and it's like that is not even what the three was for. It's totally. And Dirk may not have invented the concept, but he darn sure perfected it, did he not? Of the big man hitting the three. I mean, he completely changed. He is the face of the change in modern basketball. Kids today all say Steph. No. Steph is the reason why the line was put in 1981, 80-81. Steph is the reason the line was put in, to give little guys the chance to dominate. Dirk is the one that has totally manipulated how offensive big men play the game worldwide. And I don't think that can be understated.
Is that true? Because I remember like Bob McAdoo was a big that you would a lot of his a big chunk of his points came from the perimeter. But I remember when Kevin Garnett came into the NBA in '95. And you were saying, because you said you watched him play, the way no power forward was playing basketball the way at that power forward position, the way KG was playing. So I think like guys like McAdoo and Garnett gave birth to Nowinski's style. Now I remember Avery Johnson was the coach that he wanted Dirk to shoot a bit less threes. So a lot of Dirk's 25 points a game came from the perimeter. So I agree with you, but I don't know objectively how impactful it was to revolutionizing that position, because there was guys before him, that were big time players that did that. I'm not certain.
Well, McAdoo and actually what's funny about Bob McAdoo, if you look at his resume before his knee injury, him and KD, very similar. If you look at their stats, look at their awards, very similar players before McAdoo got injured. McAdoo was actually a center. He switched to power forward when he signed as a free agent with the Lakers, because obviously Kareem, he wasn't going to play center with Kareem in there. Most of his career, he was a center. He lost the North Carolina high jump championship to Bobby Jones when they were in high school. They were the two best high jumpers in North Carolina in the early 70s. Bob McAdoo and Bobby Jones. I mean, there were guys. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Jerry Lucas, who was a top 75 all-time player as a power forward, who both Cincinnati and the Knicks ran a play where he would come off a baseline screen, roll around, second screen on the wing, take the ball at the top of the key, and hit what is today a three-pointer, back before there was a three-point line, purely to take the defensive power forward out so that they couldn't double-team Willis Reed. That was a set play that the Knicks had with Holzman. And no one mentions him. None of us mentioned him. And he's literally a top 75 player in NBA history. That Knicks team from the early 70s, by the way, had the most top 75 NBA players on it than any other team, more than Russell's teams, more than the 80 Lakers or Celtics. They had 5 top 75 players on those early Knicks, the 70 and 73 championship team, although not all 5 played on both championships.
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned KG definitely was instrumental in the stretch 4 as well. It's just Dirk took it all the way.
I'm talking about three-pointers.
Yeah,
Only
Dirk took it all the way to the 3. Yeah, and
that's all I'm saying. I'm not talking about the stretch aspect. I'm talking actual
total range. Yeah.
3, yeah. And the reason why Avery Johnson wanted him to shoot less threes was because that was when teams started D'ing him up with small forwards, and he wasn't taking advantage of the physical mismatch.
Yeah.
And Avery Johnson's old school like Pop. If you can get 3 off of a 3-point shot or get 3 off of the conventional and 1, I want the and 1 because I want the fouls on the other team.
Yep.
To get them on the bench, to get their best players on the bench, and to get my teammates into the bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's why Avery Johnson wanted him to shoot less threes, because he would just give up. He would be covered by a guy 6'6", 6'7". He'd still take the 3.
Yeah.
And Avery Johnson was like, back that man down, get the conventional 3, because he was in 85% free throw shooter. It was
yeah, like 88. He was closer to 90. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some years 90s. Some years. Yep.
He's in the 50, 40, 90 club.
Yeah. Well, I thought his career average was around 85.
It's 88.
Yeah. I don't prep for these things. I'm going purely off memory. But that was why Avery Johnson wanted him to shoot less threes. He wanted him to back down when they would switch and put smaller guys on him. That way it would force the other team to keep a bigger man on him and pull the power forward out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a shame, you as a Dallas fan, it is a shame that we cannot talk about Roy Tarpley in this.
Oh, yeah. I like Roy Tarpley. He was good. He's the one who got the drug problem, right?
I think he's still in prison, yes.
Yeah.
Down in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't talk about that.
A friend of mine was a prison guard there and knew him.
Crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Judge, what do you have to say about Nick's list?
I like Nick's list. It's the same thing as most of our lists. He has Nowinski, though. This is the thing. Like, and I think Robin was talking about this before. Like, we were talking about the extra gear, and you mentioned that he used to go see I can't pronounce the guy's last name, Gurisk, or the guy in Germany who used to see every single off season he was spending in Germany. The thing is, like, there was a point in Dirk's career, kind of like Nas Escobar, where the game was kind of passing him by and he wasn't adapting. If you guys understand my hip hop reference, because you just mentioned it, there was a point in the late 2000s, around 05, 06, the NBA figured out Dirk Nowitzki. They couldn't stop him from scoring 26 points a game, but when it came to clutch moments, they figured out to put long Tayshaun Prince kind of defenders on Dirk Nowitzki. T-Mac had a blow at him for a while, and they figured out how to slow down Dirk. And I think that's what Rex was saying when he went back and perfected and learned new moves and never showed them to people until he can get back to the finals, where you have him at number 3. And the NBA never figured out Charles Barkley. The NBA never figured out Charles Barkley, and Carmelo never got that 6th gear. So that's why I have him at 5 and you have him at 3. But that championship ring in 2011, I can't say nothing about it. You have him at number 3. I can't get mad at you, bro.
Yeah,
I can't get mad at you at all.
I put my bias on full display too, so that's why, like, if you want to say Dirk's 5 or even slightly out of the top 5, like, I wouldn't push back too hard.
No, it's a good bias. It's actually fair bias. Your bias is fair.
I appreciate that.
It's a fair bias.
All right, let me just address the chat real fast, and we'll get into the next trivia question. Ren Sports says, love the saying reference for just saying. Goku top 5 power forward. I'm just saying, bro. He says, Jared K says, Rex from the Universe channel. Welcome, Jared K. Chris Roberts says, hey, Ren, thanks. I'm thinking Barkley, Duncan, Dirk, Mikhail, Malone off top of the head. Would have to research and take longer, I thought, for final, but that's what I got for now. Jared K says, there's a conspiracy going around about the host of this channel. Apparently, he's such a huge Michael Jordan fan, but because he wants bald guys to get the respect they deserve. Talk about about airbrain plan. Well, spoiler alert, it's true. Jared K says, can we put Nick's list in the comment? Ren Sports says, Nick's top 5, Dirk, Duncan, Malone, KG, Barkley, I think. Ren Sports says, is this Jared Kushner? He says, I wish. Who's your top 5? Jared K says, Duncan, Malone, Dirk, KG, Barkley. Yeah, Nick. So, I mean, you're kind of admitting to this. Well, actually, let me do a trivia question first. All right. So let me pull out one of these guys. How many years was LeBron James listed as a power forward?
That's an interesting one.
The question, if you're in the chat, please answer the trivia questions. As of right now, Tony Boots is in the lead with 1 for the live chat. People.
Me too.
Rex say 2 years. Rex says 2.
I'm gonna go 0. Like I don't.
You think it's a trick question?
Yeah, I feel like this was a topic for a very short while, but it didn't last long.
I'm thinking the coach. What was his name? David.
I actually. Oh God, I forget. He's actually one of my buddy's uncles.
Well, Blatt, David Blatt.
Yeah, I actually think Coach Blatt had him listed as a power forward because he had the smaller guards. Remember, they had smaller guards, and then they had the 3-point shooter at small forward, the one that came from Miami, Miller. And I think he was listed as a power forward during that time. But one of the changes when Lou took over was he shuffled and gave Tristan Thompson more playing time, moved LeBron back down to more of a ball handler situation. And I believe that's when Kyrie started getting a little tiffy and ended up, was it Boston he went to? I think Boston.
Yeah, he went to Boston.
Yeah, Boston.
I think that's how it went. I could be totally wrong on that, but just from memory, I think it went something like that.
So Rex, you say 2.
I'll
Nick,
go
you
1.
said 1. Judge says 3. What about you, Robin?
Yes, I said 1.
1. Okay. In the chat, Ren says 1 or 2. You sound like OG, guessing multiple answers every time. Oh yeah.
It was like doing our own sound effects.
Yeah. Chris Robin says 0 years. Ren Sports says, I know they listed him at power forward on Cleveland. Tristan Thompson got Kardashian cursed. Rest in peace. That's fair as well. If anybody else wants to participate in the chat, I will give you the bird noise, and then I will give the answer if you don't answer by this time. So, where's the bad? Oh, there's no bad noise. I forgot. I forget what the bad noise is. Nobody got it right. The answer is 4 times. 2 of the times it was on in Miami, where Chris Bosh was listed at center. 1 was on the Lakers. 1 was on the Cleveland, I believe.
Oh,
one
Lakers,
off.
really?
1 off.
With Lakers.
Yeah, that was this year.
3. Shit.
Huh.
So Jared K is asking.
Watching basketball, right?
Yeah.
Jared K is asking a top 10 list of all time. That's a show of its own.
Yeah.
For everybody to answer. I mean, if you want if you want somebody specific to just give you a rundown, just call their name out and they can answer real fast. If not, without detail. Jared K, and you may have talked about this, but what does LeBron have to do to pass MJ? I don't know, man. There's a lot. I mean, are you asking my top 10 list of all time? If you are, I can answer that real fast. Jared K, you talked about this, but what does LeBron have to do to pass MJ? Man, I don't know. He's up there.
If you don't mind real quick, I think for him to be serious, like, I don't think he ever will, but for him to be like a serious conversation, he would have to dominate 2 more finals runs. And while I think maybe he could win another ring or 2 on a team, he's just never going to be the guy again, I don't think, on a team where he's not going to average like 30, 10, and 10, on like 2 finals runs or something. Like, I just think the window's done for the GOAT debate. But that's what he would have to do. He'd have to put a team on his back and win 2 more rings and like have an amazing playoff run. And I don't think he's got it in him anymore.
I agree with you, brother. I was thinking the same thing. He has to win. You got to win 3 more rings, like how Dirk did it.
Yeah,
you got to bring a team on your back and dominate, and I don't think he could do that either. So he can't. It's a trick question.
He could play a pivotal role, but he's not gonna like just utterly dominate. You know, like he could play a pivotal role, maybe even be the best guy on the team, but like averaging 30, 10, and 10 or something crazy. Like I think those days are behind him.
Well, I believe the whole GOAT thing is just perception and not reality, as you all know. But he lost his chance when he went to Miami. If he would have went to Pop in 2010, maybe today we would be talking about, you know, a much more prolific career team-wise.
To the Spurs, interesting. Was that a debate? It's been so long.
That was actual talk, and I got that from someone inside the Spurs organization. I lived in San Antonio at the time, and there was a lot of hope because he had a really good relationship with Pop. If you go back and watch any old videos, like the finals, what was that, 2007? Cleveland, San Antonio?
Yeah.
Pop would talk to him after every game, win or lose. And I'm not saying good game, and walk off. Arm around the waist, chat, in depth. They would see each other, obviously, with the Team USA. They were involved. But there was a lot of talk that they were really hoping for it. Didn't materialize, and the person that I know said that he heard in a party in which LeBron was there that he thought Riley was going to come back to the bench like he did when Shaq went there in 2006 in the finals. Remember when they made that championship run? The whole Stan Van Gundy had to step down and Riley took over the team. He, correctly or incorrectly, however you want to put it, was somewhat under the impression that Riley was going to do that again, and he didn't. And I believe you can put everyone loves to put the 2011 loss on LeBron, but Spoelstra lost that series. He was completely outcoached. Carlisle is an amazing coach.
I think Carlisle's the most underrated coach in the league. I think he can manufacture points better than anybody.
Players lose games.
Spoelstra lost that series. Spoelstra lost that series, not LeBron letting Wade lead the team. LeBron's meltdowns in Dallas.
Mavs were a good defensive team, okay? Like, let's give them some credit.
Oh my God! You guys need to stop this madness. Please put them on mute. Mute them all.
Who? Deshaun Stevenson right now?
Tyson Chandler, Sean Marion. I mean, they had some good defenders on that team.
LeBron James scored 8 points.
Larry Bird scored 8 points.
Spoelstra. Bro, you said Spoelstra.
People gotta take responsibility, man.
He said Spoelstra.
With this nonsense.
Dirk shut down LeBron, bro.
And I was gonna respect him when he talked about the relationship that he had with Popovich. As a matter of fact, he was right when he said the Spurs was an insider dark horse team in the decision in 2010 that they thought maybe he might go to Popovich, but that never materialized, as we all know. But for you to come back and put that on Spoelstra when LeBron melted down and told everybody, go back to your life at your bus driving job or whatever the hell you do. I live my life.
He absolutely did. He absolutely did. And
I can't believe you put that on Spoelstra.
To have something, in place for that type of thing. That's why he's there, is he not? Is that why the coach exists?
I mean, coaches give strategies, and I think coaches really make a difference in like one set play. Like, we need an inbound play. There's 6 seconds to go. I think coaches can be very instrumental in that. But over the course of a game in a series, it's decided.
The Miami Heat were cruising through the They were cruising through the playoffs. The Miami Heat. All of a sudden, they were up 2 games to 1. They were cruising. Now it's Eric Spoelstra's fault. All of a sudden.
It was
out of here,
It
man.
has been for
Stop
12
this
years.
stuff.
It has been for
Come
12
on,
years. It's just you never
Get out of
realized.
here.
Either way, I win. It don't matter to me.
Yeah. Oh, well, like you said earlier, what was Dirk's fourth quarter scoring average? 10 a game?
Yeah.
10 points a game.
Highest
Why
of
did
all time.
Why did Spoelstra allow that? Why was he not prepared?
Because you got Jet in the corner.
If LeBron James just averages his regular season numbers, the Miami Heat easily win their finals. All he had to do is put up his regular season numbers. They win that final. He scored 17 points a game. That's Eric Spoelstra's fault?
On the perimeter, brother.
Who calls the plays?
Udonis Haslip couldn't hang with that brother, man. And the switches that he rubbed with Chris Bosh, Dirk was possessed in that finals. I don't know what you're saying, brother.
And whose job is it to stop the main offensive player of the other team?
If you have the personnel.
If
you have the personnel.
Who decides the personnel?
LeBron should have guarded Dirk. We would have loved to see that.
Who decides who's on the court? Who decides who's on the court?
Yeah, but you only have 12 guys to pick from, you know?
Now you have 15.
Well, 15, but 12 usually.
See, this is the difference between a player's perspective and a fan's perspective. Fans act like coaches don't exist, like they don't matter. The coach runs the team.
That could be another topic.
That's cheesy. That's corny as hell, Rex. Stop the nonsense, man. Stop it, man. There's one coach in the NBA, man.
Yeah.
He does. Players make the plays, Rex. Players make the plays, man. It's a players' league, dude. Stop it.
Rex has said that he would debate this. That the coach.
How influential coaches are, that's a
they're
decent
extremely
topic.
important. So would any of you or anybody in the audience?
The coaches have a role. They're there. They have a role.
And Spoelstra
they ain't making shots, man. Get out of here.
As LeBron did. Players lose games.
LeBron James mentally shrunk. I saw Deshaun Stevenson talking trash to LeBron James. Could you imagine Deshaun Stevenson talking trash to Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant?
I'm not disagreeing.
Could you imagine Deshaun Stevenson?
Come
on, man. Stop it. LeBron James mentally shrunk. Mentally shrunk. I'm not putting
on disagreeing with that. You're arguing with no one. I didn't say he didn't. But that is where it falls on the coach. How many wasn't there a couple finals where Pippen did not play fantastic?
Didn't Bill Russell coach his own team while he was playing it? Stop the nonsense, man. All right, listen to me.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
The coaches have a role in the NBA. They have a role. The players have to go out there and make the plays. If LeBron James averages 27 points a game in the regular season and then it shrinks to 17 points a game, that's on him.
Why.
And that's to me, to answer that question from earlier, that's to me is when his GOAT case ended. 2011 for me ended any LeBron James GOAT debate for me.
See, I said
with some kind of meltdown like that.
I said
2 games to 1. You're making fun of Dirk being sick going into game 4. You're coughing. Oh, I guess Dirk must be sick. They made jokes about this man. They were showing Dirk up, and what happened? It came back and bit him in the butt. He folded up like a lawn chair. That is not on Eric Spoelstra. You cannot make excuses for that man.
That you explained is entirely on the coach. That is, see, as a player, I know that. That is what the coach is there for, to see these things. That's why assistant coaches are there. These are the things they bring up to you.
To walk in the tunnel with LeBron James when he's walking into the arena. Eric Spoelstra's supposed to be behind him. Come on, stop it. These are grown men, Rex.
Wait a minute.
He's not a high school prep team, man. These are grown men getting paid millions and millions of dollars. And you tell me Eric Spoelstra's supposed to be policing them.
You think the 2011 finals took him off the GOAT? You don't think it was the decision, brother? You don't think it was the decision that took him off the GOAT conversation?
2011 finals ended it for him. It ended it
not,
for him.
Not the decision. Not the decision.
What are you saying?
No, because if he would, in my opinion, if he would have went to Miami and won not 5, not 6, not 7 championships, if he would have actually done that, to me, he could have been that greatest of all time conversation.
Well, yeah, if anyone
but the fact
in
of
the
the matter
modern
was,
era wins
he kept
7,
flipping and flopping.
Yeah. He won 2 of 4, and then once Kyrie Irving started balling in Cleveland, he went back there. And this might be a hot take, but I think Irving won that series more than LeBron did when you take into account Kyrie's defense on Steph Curry. I think Kyrie Irving should have been the MVP of that finals.
Well, was it necessarily Kyrie's defense on Steph Curry, or was it Steph Curry expending too much energy trying to cover Kyrie that he wasn't able? Because he has weak ankles. He has weak ankles. If you make him run side to side and fight through down screens, it really takes away from Steph's effectiveness because of his ankles.
I remember watching that series and felt Kyrie was taking Curry out of the game offensively.
Yeah.
Let me address the chat, and we went on a nice digression right there. But let me just address the chat. There's been a lot of comments since this has begun. Jerry K asked for a top 10 list of all time. Blah blah blah. Don't want to disrupt the show too much. Ren Sports. MJ, Kobe, Kareem, Dream, LeBron, Curry, Bird, T-Mac, Duncan, Shaq. Jerry K says, Ren Sports, unorthodox top 10, but I respect it. Ren Sports says, respect it, appreciate it. Not putting old Billy on that list. Tisk tisk. Tweeting this out again, Ren Sports says. Jared says, yeah, Russell, not really worth putting on unless you value rings. LeBron and Spurs would have been interesting. Chris says, nothing he can do. His ability has been displayed for his career, not on Jordan's skill level. Jared says, I think if he continues to play at a high level for a few more years and wins a championship, especially with the Sun, would put him at number 1 for me. Ren says LeBron could probably lock down MJ better than anyone if the effort was there. Jared says, and the only reason I say that is for the sake of longevity. Ren says Shaq is the most dominant until the Dream blocked his title hopes. LeBron carried some scrubs to the finals. Verjao, Ilgauskas. Ilgauskas was cool. Kind of like AI did.
Wasn't he an all-star one year?
He was, yeah.
Yup, see, once again, this is what the LeBron fans do. They shortchange his teammates to lift him up. You guys are so corny.
Jared says he did. Boomman Williams. Welcome, Boomman Williams.
Yeah, wasn't there GM Danny Ferry?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I believe Danny Ferry was their GM.
Okay.
LeBron fans is silly, man.
Boomman Williams says, isn't it time for LeBron James to be a second, maybe third option? That's controversial. He said he's still good.
Wasn't he the second option in the finals? Weren't they going to
AD?
What's his name? AD more? I heard one of y'all say that in a previous thing. I thought it was Judge.
Yeah, I mean, you could say he was. I mean, but I don't know.
Would AD be on anyone's list if he could stay healthy?
He's got a nice game, man. He's a really tough matchup for anyone to guard when he's on. I mean, again, he's almost like Dirk, maybe without the range of a 3-pointer, but he'll step out 20 feet on you and he'll hit it consistently.
Now he's more of a McAdoo type.
He's got a decent post game too. I mean, when he's healthy, yeah, he's nice. He's real nice.
That's a good question, Rex. That's a super legitimate question, Rex. Super. I think the answer is yes.
I'll give you a question, if I may. Just thought of it.
He won MVP, right?
Okay.
Yeah, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did.
Oh, AD?
Yeah.
Ooh, hell no.
I don't think so.
No.
Hell no.
I think he won Defensive Player of the Year.
Sorry.
No, he hasn't won that either. Right? Has AD won Defensive Player of the Year? No.
I'd have to look. Yeah.
No, he did not. Because remember a couple years ago, he missed out on the Supermax contract because he didn't get one of those. If he would have won any one of those awards, he would have qualified for a Supermax contract.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. The 1 year he had like crazy numbers and was up there, he got hurt as usual and didn't have the required number of games. And that caused him to miss out on a Supermax contract, I believe. But we're talking about power forwards. So, trivia question. Where did the...
Rex is taking over.
Power forward...
What's going on right now? What's going on right now? Does this count?
What? No, forget it. No big deal.
No, say your question. No, say your question, Rex. I was just teasing.
It was the first power forward when the term was first quoted. Who was it about?
I don't know. I'm gonna guess Mikan.
Yeah. Nope.
I'm gonna say Dolph Shays.
Now it's Eric
Nope.
Spoelstra's fault all of a sudden.
He was a finesse player.
It
has been it has been for 12 years. It's just like his son,
Either way,
Danny had played for Denver.
It don't matter to me.
Yeah.
Not Arizona. Oh shit.
I'll give you a hint. Mikan was close. Literally, physically close.
Oh, it's got to be
Like standing right next to Mikan.
Yeah, it's got to be his teammate then. I'd have to look. I don't know
who that was.
Vern Mikkelsen.
Vern Mikkelsen. There you go.
Power forward for those original Laker teams.
Mm-hmm.
John Kundla in an interview said he's our power forward.
Nice.
He was the bruiser, the rebounder. He's the guy that you couldn't mess with Mike, and he was the first Ricky Mahorn. You tried messing with Mike, and you cheap shot Mike, and you turn around, Mickelson would be standing there chewing gum, smiling at you, going okay, and then would deck you.
All right, let me get back to the chat real fast so we can catch up, and then Robin, I think you haven't given your opinion on Nick's list, and then we'll continue the Power Forward discussion. I'm just saying, bro, says the great players take over and don't listen to the coach. Just give me the damn ball, all the greats. Ren replies, tell that to Coach Bob, and you will get slapped. Bootman Williams says, nah, he got a number one, no more. They usually lose when he is scoring 30 plus. Jared says LeBron is a number one. Crazy. Ren says, I think Pop, Phil, Riley, a few coaches that made a difference. Carlisle. Chris says the great guards, the best scorer, and demand the ball. LeBron is the number one at 38 in terms of winning. AD is their top dog now, says Boomman Williams. Jared says, hell no. Ren says Bob Cousy's a beast. God Cousy. Ren says, I'm sorry. That was NMB replied, God Cousy. You guys have like the same thing almost. LeBron at this age is still good, is insane. That's what Ren says. Jared says LeBron leaves the team and Lakers are done. Anthony Davis leaves and they play slightly worse. That's fair. Boomman, I think LeBron James checks out often. And Jared says AD was injured too much. He's a top 5 player when healthy. Ren says he had injuries. Oh my God, there's a lot of comments. Yeah, the injuries, B's like Leonard and LeBron and AD just taking days off is stupid and lazy, and you're getting paid millions to play a game. Get off the bench. Yep, that's very fair. Agreed about AD when he's focused. Boomman says, hey fellas, this live. What do you think about Jordan buying team for $275 million and now got it for $3 billion? Is that a Jordan win? I think so. But I think that he had passion for the team and wanted to win. So outside of the investment, I think it's a loss. But for the investment, yeah, it's definitely a win.
Money.
I mean, Charlotte was never good though, so like.
Well, that's the thing. He only made one. He made one textbook bad business decision, but he turned it in his favor, so it's irrelevant. But he bought into a team that wasn't going to win. It wasn't going to. It's not going to.
Mm-hmm.
So winning probably wasn't his, as much as we all want to say that that's the motivation. His motivation is to get richer. You don't become a billionaire by accident. It is the plan to get to that point. No one goes, oh, damn, I just got $1 billion. Okay, that doesn't happen. That is the plan from day one. That was his plan from sitting in his bedroom with his mom talking about his future after he hit the shot against Georgetown. That was the business plan from then. So he accomplished what he set out to do. That,
Dart, I've never engaged with the audience before, but I have a legitimate question, and it's not really a hot take, because they're bringing up LeBron James. I'm serious. Why do people think that LeBron is better than Tim Duncan?
Because he has the Chosen tattooed on his back or something like that. We've been told he's the one since he was a junior in high school.
Like, objectively speaking, why do you think he's better than Tim Duncan? Like, are you sure I don't have him at my number 2. I don't have him at number 2.
Yeah.
Forget the GOAT. Forget GOAT. I don't know. I don't think he's number 2.
I want to bring this up. I want to bring this up because this is what I was going to say. Just because this is the one thing I was going to say about Nick's list, so I might as well say it now. Again, Dirk, all-time great. He's not in my top 5 either. And the only reason I think that Dirk and KG are brought in the conversation against Tim Duncan is to make Kobe look better, because Kobe played against great players too. Now, to be fair, KG and Dirk both won 1 championship each and went to 2 finals each. But Kobe, they just make it, people in hindsight pretend like Kobe had nobody that he was playing against, like T-Mac, Vince Carter, all these big time names. Like, people forget, like they elevate KG and thing to make Kobe look better than Tim. But Tim, his longevity, his defense, the team having the most wins ever in respect to percentage, all these things that would show how great he is. I think the media has put a lot of it on Kobe and try to make Tim not look as good as he was. And I'm not saying Dirk wasn't great or KG wasn't great, but T-Mac was great. Vince Carter was great. All these other guards were great, but they're kind of pushed to the wayside because Kobe was, you know, however you want to put it, more entertaining.
I'll also clarify, because I had said, you know, when KG and Duncan played each other, KG got the better of them. When it comes to power, sometimes, when it comes to power forwards, there is Tim Duncan, and then there is everybody else. I want to make that clear. I mean, as someone who saw Tim Duncan play as a Mavs fan, obviously, you know, I don't like him, but, you know, I got to respect the guy. Like, he's just a winner. He's a flat-out player. He's clutch. He's everything. I mean, he drove that team to 5 rings. I have him. I did a pyramid video recently. I've got him in my tier 1 with Jordan. Jordan, Kareem, and LeBron are kind of in my tier 1 of guys. If you wanted to make the argument, I would accept it. Tim Duncan's up there, man. I said this before we started streaming. Maybe Judge didn't hear it, but I think Kareem has the next best argument, and probably Tim Duncan too, over LeBron for that second spot all time. I probably put Kareem and Tim Duncan. I'd let them argue and battle it out for number 2 after Jordan, probably before I would LeBron. I think Duncan is so disrespected, to be honest, all time wise. I think he's easily top 5. I would say.
I think because he doesn't speak, he doesn't care to be on the list. I think if he was vocal and the media, and he played in a market not like San Antonio that promotes their players, I think like people look at Tim Duncan, they don't realize what's going on. But I don't have him like how I have Kareem. I don't have him where I have Kareem, but I also feel that people who have to handle the ball have more responsibility, where a big man could be like a lion, just sit back, let the lionesses bring the food, give me the ball when it's time to give me the ball. That's why I have LeBron high, because he's got to dribble, make decisions, and that's how I feel, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, so what do you guys want to do? Because there's a lot of, do you want to just talk about what the guys are saying, or do you guys want to keep going with your lists?
Well, I want the list, man.
Can I just make one rhetorical question to one of the comments?
Okay.
The guy that said that Russell isn't in his like top 10, 20 or whatever. So you're totally negating a 5-time league MVP. Same number as Jordan, more than LeBron, 1 behind Kareem. You're totally negating that guy as being one of the best ever.
Yeah, Kareem.
5-time league MVP.
We're talking about Kareem, sorry.
No, talking about Bill Russell.
Oh, Russell.
5-time league MVP in 13 years. And this guy in the chat is saying that he's not even in his like top 10 or 20. He was a 5-time league MVP as voted by his contemporaries, not by media.
That's back for the media, yeah.
Dart, you should bring that guy into the chat so we can give it to him and then kick him back out the chat.
Yeah.
I mean, every person we've mentioned, even in passing, are fantastic players. They were all outrageously amazing, and if put in the right situation and circumstance, could have done what all the others did. You know, given the, you know, everyone has a different situation. You know, talking about Garnett. Okay, well, what if Garnett goes to Pop? you know, with the first pick and is teamed with a role model like Robinson and an all-time great coach, and then has all-star and future Hall of Fame guards getting him the ball. Yeah. Then what does Garnett's career look like? If Tim Duncan gets drafted by Sacramento, then what?
Well,
making it easier for Garnett, making it easier for him.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that is Garnett. I think the reason why Duncan is as good as he was is he had to go also up against Shaq, and he held his own. Garnett, if you take Tim Duncan out and you put Garnett on that San Antonio team, I'm just not sure they ever get over the hump against LA until Shaq left.
But that's
Shaq, brother, Shaq ragdolled them, brother. He got 3 straight rings, bro.
Yeah.
If
what are you
Pop
talking
has
about?
a guy that he knows can't defend Shaq, then he drafts someone or trades for someone to put on Shaq.
Well, the Spurs beat the Lakers at least a few times in the playoffs.
They beat them a lot of times in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what I
The
mean.
best
I don't
defender on
think
Shaq was Sabonis.
If
Sabonis
KG's
is
your
the only guy.
KG's your big man, I don't think they ever beat him at all. Ever. Lakers probably win a few more rings.
It didn't matter, bro. What more do you want than 3 straight rings? He ragdolled Tim Duncan. He got 3 straight. What more do we need to say? 5 in a row? Duncan versus Shaq, KG versus Shaq is the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's a power forward trying to cover a center.
Well, they put him at center. Duncan played center most of the time, not Rasho Nesterovic.
Defensively, he played center. Offensively, he played forward.
All right. So what I'm going to do for the people participating in the chat, so there is a lot, and I can go through and talk for the next 10 minutes on everything. So I'm just going to skim through real fast and pick out some interesting comments. If you want to have your comments addressed always, you can either super me or you can become a member, and I will address your comment whenever you put anything in the live chat. But for now, just because there's so many comments, we're going to get back to the power forward discussion, but let me look.
San Antonio did sweep the Lakers in '99, just to be clear.
Oh, Boo Man, you said read the rest of the comments, y'all. Yeah, there's a lot, and it will not be the top 5 power forwards of all time anymore if I read all of the comments. But I appreciate you coming on and talking. Duncan is the best power forward to ever play the game, in my opinion. But we're in an era where perimeter play and 3-ball are dominant. Duncan would be a glorified center who can't shoot threes now. That's in my opinion, but we're in an era. Jared says, I didn't put Wilt in my top 10 either. 8 NBA teams existed when compared to now 30. He wasn't a great scorer or particularly versatile. I'm not sure he would have achieved the same success if he played.
Stop reading this stuff. Stop reading it.
And
What is going on right now?
30 points
What
a
is
game.
going on right now?
Not a great scorer.
In a different era.
Have you guys lost your minds?
I think they have.
Are we live?
If he played in a different
Can
era.
you hear me?
He's losing.
Wilt Chamberlain?
Yep. Let me finish what he said. If he played in a different era, like a Jordan, LeBron, or Duncan, or even played on a different team for that matter, he played on a dynasty, and that's why I think he's ranked so highly. That's hindsight. Jared, that's hindsight, man. It's hindsight.
Who? Duncan?
Yeah, he's talking about Duncan. That's hindsight. He made it a dynasty.
I was about to say, yeah, he made the dynasty. That's why it's a dynasty.
It's hindsight. It's just like saying Hall of Famers, like, I don't know. I don't want to.
Was Robinson there?
Never went back to back. Lost to the Pistons.
That's like saying he had so many Hall of Famers on the team.
Pistons that year.
That's like saying somebody has so many Hall of Famers on their team. It's because the reason why they're Hall of Famers is because
they were on that team. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not like they were put onto the team in a time machine, and then that's what made the team good.
Well, that's exactly what I talk about when people mention like Hall of Famers on a team. It's like there were no Hall of Famers on any team when the team was playing.
Yeah, it's hindsight.
Ever. They're all elected to the Hall of Fame years or decades later one of Bill Russell's teammates, Arnie Rison, was elected to the Hall of Fame 40 years after he retired, 20 years after he died. Okay? That means nothing. That you can't say, oh, well, that's what I've always said. I've told you. Watch when you can look 40 years after the Chicago Bulls dynasty. Watch. I guarantee you, Steve Kerr is going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He will get elected to the Hall of Fame because it has now become a three-point world in basketball. And he is still, to this day, the all-time three-point percentage leader. They're going to look the next generation that only knows him by name and sees his name at the top of that list. He's going to get voted in by the, they have the elders committee, what is it called? Where they have a panel of Hall of Famers that can offer up Hall of Fame inductees. He's going to end up in there.
I tell you something. I'm not certain about that, bro, because you're saying it's a three-point world now, but
as a coach.
Or as a
He'll get him because of his coaching and playing.
Well, that's why he's not going to go as a player. Hall of Fame. That's why John Thompson's in the Hall of Fame. They were both teammates of Russell. And they're both in the Hall of Fame because
but there's also a lot of teammates of Russell that are in there as players. Don't shortchange Russell's teammates. See, y'all try to shortchange Russell's teammates, man. Don't shortchange them. Them dudes was legit, son. It was legit. All right, ain't no one trying to shortchange Russell's greatness to big up his teammates. But let's not act like Hondo Havlicek wasn't really good, and Kuzi wasn't really good.
Didn't mention
Sam Jones wasn't really good. These guys were really good. Red Auerbach was the greatest coach in the NBA. They had a monopoly on the NBA. It's not shortchanging Bill Russell. It's just calling the facts. That's all it is.
Jared clarifies that he was talking about Bill Russell, not Tim Duncan, for all of that. But I still disagree. Same way, Jared.
Five-time league MVP, Bill Russell.
All right, let's finally get back to the power forward discussion. That was a nice little.
Are we still on my list?
Dart,
I think it was my turn to go, but we might as well just skip it and just continue with this madness that's going on in the chat.
Okay.
This is
insane. I want him to go, but I want to say something to him before I go. I've read many years for a long time that they said that Tim Duncan, even though he was listed as a power forward, Popovich played most of his minutes in the NBA at the center position.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we say, I don't know, I want to hear your list. Though.
I've always considered him to be a little more of a center than a power forward, especially the era he played in. But I mean, people put him as a power forward, so I'll just keep him as a power forward.
Yeah, you see, with Malone, you never had that issue. They always had Eaton or Ostertag, the big monolithic, gigantic guy at center. So Malone
Eaton was,
biggest man I ever saw.
My dad told a story. He went to go see some game, and Tractor Trailer had just came out. And he's like, man, Mark Eaton made Tractor Trailer look like a little stuffed animal. It was like the craziest thing. You just don't understand how big these guys are. And then when you see someone like Eaton next to what is considered a massive human being and makes them look small, it's mind-blowing. It's crazy.
Eaton's shoulders were so insanely wide that he could barely fit through a normal door.
Yeah, he was a massive human being. Just ridiculous.
And he had to duck, obviously.
We haven't done this in a while, so let's do a trivia question. I feel like I've been throwing, softballs at you guys. All right. What year was Elvin Hayes? What was his rookie season? What season was Elvin Hayes' rookie season in the NBA?
67-68. He lost out the Rookie of the Year award to Wes Unseld.
So Rex says 68.
I'm going to say 68.
Robin says 68.
I'm going to piggyback. No shame.
All right.
1968.
Everyone says 68. If you're in the chat, Please put your answer in here. As of right now, Tony Boots is winning with 1. I think everyone is still interested in their chat in the chat. But I will give it a few seconds. Everyone on the panel says 1968. All right. The answer is 1969 as the rookie season.
No, 68, 69.
68, 69.
Yeah, 68, 69. Yep.
So he started in 68. Yes.
Rex.
He was the year ahead of Lou Alcindor.
Rex, you said 67, 68.
Yes. Didn't I? What did I say?
You said 67, 68. Not
68.
We all jumped on you, man. Come on, Rex.
And jump on nothing.
I'm trying to ride you to greatness. Let's go.
You're always good for
Do I have
one
my
thing.
years wrong?
Generation is
All right,
screwed up.
then wait a second.
He said
Kareem was-
67, 68. He did say
I was
that.
going to say 69
Yeah,
too, man,
you're
but I was like, you know
right.
what?
You're right.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
no,
fuzzy.
you're right. The whole changing of the year got me wrong. He was 1 year ahead of Kareem, and Kareem came out 69, 70.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the year before Kareem, 68, 69. Yes. So yeah, I was wrong. I said the wrong year.
All right, Robin, how about your turn for top 5 power forwards? What's your list?
Yeah, so I'll just go through it really quick because, you know, we've talked about most of these guys already and stuff, and there's no need for me to take long. But, you know, listen to some of you guys speak, man. Now I'm kind of questioning my list here a little bit. I don't know. But I went honorable mention. I went Kevin McHale. I went Dirk Nowitzki, honorable mention. Elvin Hayes, honorable mention. For my top 5, number 5, I had Kevin Garnett at number 5. I had Bob Pettit at number 4. I had Karl Malone at number 3, Charles Barkley at number 2, and obviously Tim Duncan at number 1, man. That was my list. Like I said, we talked about, you know, basically everybody on my list. I think any of those guys are interchangeable. Like I said, I think all your guys' lists are very good also. Like I said, I was kind of surprised at, you know, how high you guys had like KG or Dirk Nowitzki. I wouldn't have expected to see them that high because to me, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, it was between them and Kevin McHale for me, man, for that number 5 spot. I went with KG just for the overall defense of him, his rebounding prowess. I think he's a really good rebounder. And it's really, like I said, what you value. Like we talked about, Dirk Nowitzki was more of a, like you said, pulling the defense out. He was, you know, face you up and, you know, shoot the ball over the top. You know, he had a really good go-to move, which I think helped him to be so successful. When you have that one really go-to move, you know, whatever it is, it allows you to really to be, you know, perform at a high level. For me, the only thing with Dirk, you know, for some to be on like that outside, and even with someone like a Kevin Garnett that you can argue with McHale, is they had some failures in the postseason. They didn't have as much of a success. Yeah, we can argue, you know, McHale played on, you know, obviously excellent, you know, Boston Celtic teams. But like I mentioned, Kevin McHale was a huge part of their success. He wasn't just a hanger-on. You know, he was a key member of the team. And, you know, when we think about those things, for me, you know, like I said, that's why those guys were in my honorable mention.
Yeah, look at his stats the year that Bird was out.
Who are you talking about?
McHale.
Kevin McHale.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Rex, what do you have to say about the list?
Pretty much right on. I think really Nick said it best than when he said, when with every other position, you know, you're looking at 3 to 5 guys that are generationally above, like a tier above others. But with the power forward position, it's much more congested. And I think it's because the change in the game.
Yeah,
where
that's actually a good point.
It went from an inside position, enforcer position, as Robin said, to a Dirk-like Porzingis position, the stretch position, the three-point, you know, mismatch position. So you have a what's the word? A strange dichotomy there.
It's evolved the most over time. That's probably true.
That the players at the so-called same position are so insanely different, but equally great in a historical context. And that's why the Power Four, I think that's why there's so many comments, and we've been going for over 2 hours and still going strong with good knowledge coming out and good discussion, is because it is so congested. And like I said, there are guys like Jerry Lucas who are top 75 all-time players that we never mentioned in our top 5 list. You know, guys like, you know, AD and all these, you know, I had to throw out Roy Tarpley just to give Dallas some love, you know, other than Dirk, you know.
Chris
there
Webber's
was a
guy.
power
Rasheed
forward
Wallace,
before
you know?
Dirk in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many great players. We never mentioned Maurice Lucas. You know, we never, just those type of guys. We never mention them. You know?
Yeah. What do you got to say, Judge? What do you think about Robin's list?
I respect his list. My only thing is, because he put it in order, just so I understand, I like to understand where people are coming from. I just want him to explain his rationale why he, one, had Pettit above Kevin Garnett, and then why he had Karl Malone over KG. I want to understand Malone and Pettit over KG, his rationale for that. Because it's on this show, you guys know I'm really big on two-way superstars. I think two-way superstars just dominate basketball. So I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, well, all right. As it pertains to Bob Pettit, obviously I never watched Bob Pettit play basketball, so I had to do some historical, homework. I had to listen to other people's videos, historical videos on Bob Pettit to learn, a little bit about him, so I could speak intelligently on this topic. But for me, Bob Pettit's one of those guys where he was like the next superstar after George Mikan. He was like the next guy between him and Bill Russell coming in. Don't forget, he won a championship in there in between the Bill Russell run before they went on that string of championships. Bob Pettit was able to capture a championship with a Cliff Hagan. Now, when I think about Karl Malone, for me, Karl Malone, the steadiness, like Rex was talking about, you guys mentioned his consistency, the Karl Malone consistency. The man played 82 games. I mean, you could depend on Karl Malone. He was going to be in the lineup. You knew what he was going to give you. He was going to give you 25 and 10. And he was going to give you some tough defense. He was going to throw some elbows out there. I think Rex is right on when he talks about he wasn't that great of a crunch time performer and things like that. We immediately think about the free throws that Scottie Pippen talked trash, told him that the mailman don't deliver on Saturdays or on Sundays, right? We think about that trash talk line, and Karl Malone froze up and missed both those free throws. He, like Rex said, John Stockton was usually the guy to make the key baskets, to be the crunch time performer. He was the floor general. But for me, Karl Malone was, like I said, he was just steady. Growing up for me, like I said, watching these guys play, Charles Barkley to me might have the best peak all around of any power forward I've ever seen play. I'm talking about what I watched, guys, when I was growing up. Charles Barkley this guy was insane, man. The athleticism. When we see Charles Barkley now, people think he's a donut-eating machine. He's lazy and slow. This guy was a great athlete, man, for about 4 years. Well, now he is. But I think those guys, and like I said, Karl Malone, and I think, like I said, Bob Pettit, to me, he played in a real tough era, Bob Pettit.
I would go with you on that Barkley comment that probably you take like a 5-year window. Barkley's best 5-year window is probably the best of any power forward. I probably would go with you on that one.
All right.
The reason why I said that, brother, is because I believe, maybe Dart helped me out, Hakeem, Jordan, Giannis, and Garnett. How many guys have won? How many players in the NBA, the thousands of guys, have won MVP and won Defensive Player in their career? It's straight up dominance.
That's
why I understand we have Malone over Garnett.
But for half the NBA, there was no Defensive Player of the Year award. Like Bob Pettit was actually the first ever MVP in the 10th year of the league.
2-time MVP.
2. Yeah.
But he only has one guy from the old era on his list. Everybody who we've been talking about, you mentioned Jerry Lucas, has been more of players in the 80s and up. Well, they've been Defensive Player of the Year, but he put Malone over Garnett because he's not better than Garnett defensively, and offensively you can determine like Carl likes to score, but Carl had one of the best.
Well, you have to look at the era.
Yeah.
It's like we were saying. It's the position that has
4 or 5 all defensive teams.
Changed the most. Yeah, Malone. Look at his steal numbers. He had the quickest hands.
12th all time.
Yeah.
Bob Pettit's 8th all time PER.
Charles Barkley wasn't known for his defense per se. Charles Barkley.
And look, let me tell you something about the old
when you're talking about Charles Barkley, I'm talking about we're talking about that window from like 87 to like 1992, 93. Charles Barkley was sensational. He was actually a pretty decent shot blocker at his size. Don't forget, Charles Barkley's undersized when we're talking about these power forwards.
Yeah.
Charles Barkley's the size of like a shooting guard or a small forward. And we're talking about guys who are 6'9", 6'10", 6'11". These guys are monsters. Charles Barkley's the shortest rebounding champ in NBA history. The guy was a monster. He hustled. That's why I said he let us down. He had all that hustle. He didn't keep that same energy later in his career.
I think, like I said, back when I was a kid, when you got a team together, the last position you looked for was a power forward. You wanted a post guy. You wanted a center. You wanted a ball handler. You wanted a point guard. You needed a shooter, a guy on the wings, guys that get out on the break. And the worst guy, the guy that has no offensive moves and can't dribble, put him at power forward. Tell him to set picks and knock people around, chase down loose balls. That was a power forward when I was a kid. So there's been a lot of maturation in the position and the perception of the position over the last 50 years, 45 years. So when you're comparing, it's not a straight comparison. When you're saying, well, why Pettit over Garnett? I mean, that's really a huge, huge jump, like a time warp. And like power forwards were all thugs, enforcers. Then along came Bob Pettit, who was a center in college, but he was actually the first player to take up weight training. Because he was a thin guy, played center in college, dominated because of his skill level, got to the NBA and was just getting beaten around. Guys like Mike and just, obliterated him. I think broke his nose a couple times. And he got a personal trainer and started lifting weights, putting on pounds. They traded in the Russell trade. They got Easy Ed McCauley to play center and moved Pettit to power forward, and he was the first power forward that was highly skilled. So he dominated.
Yeah. And he averaged 26 and 16 for his career. That's nuts.
Well, I believe he has the third highest rebounding season other than Russell or Wilt, I believe. I think he had one season where it was like...
He's top 10 in PER still.
Yeah.
Which I know is an advanced metric.
That's what I'm saying. Look at the era that he played in.
He was a monster.
He played with legendary big men, man, in a tough era.
Judge, did you have anything more to say, or is Nick...
No, I understand what he's... I get it.
Nick, what do you got to say about Robin's list?
We've all said it. Like, there's 10 guys you could throw in and out here. So I had Pettit as one of my honorable mentions. He probably was number 6. He probably would have been the next guy in if I had to drop somebody. I mean, his numbers are ridiculous. So like, I don't have a problem with Pettit. He was on my radar too. So yeah, I mean, like he said, we've all kind of said it already about all these guys, like what they did. It's been a good talk. Obviously, I've enjoyed it. It's been really fun. Everyone's got good points and. Yeah, I think the power forward position is probably the hardest one to try and pick a top 3 or 5. Like you said, the positions just evolve so much more than any other position, right? I mean, like centers, you kind of have your top 5 centers, kind of have your top 5 point guards and shooting guards. But power forward, man, there's guys who just the skill sets are so different. and what they were good at, it really is just kind of open for debate.
Nick, didn't Hakeem Olajuwon play a lot of power forward when he ran with Samson in the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, the Twin Towers, yeah, I mean, you could say that, but Hakeem's always been he probably was a little more versatile than Samson, so you'd put him at the power forward, but...
Hakeem was always listed at the center.
Yeah, he's always been
Samson was the one that was moved to power forward because he couldn't take the pounding underneath. He was too thin in the middle. He couldn't hold position.
A little older, too.
Well, not really. He just came out the year before.
Did he?
Yes. He was number 1 pick in 83. Hakeem, number 1 pick in 84. That's why I really thought Jordan was going number 1. Because I thought, oh, my God, these guys played against each other. Samson and Jordan played against each other in the ACC. I watched them. They were Jordan took over as ACC Player of the Year after Samson went to the pros. And I thought, holy crap, they're going to be teammates. And then they all started talking about Houston taking Hakeem. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Interesting.
I mean, I understand he's great, but you already have the Rookie of the Year center and the guy that at the time, people forget this, Samson was being looked at as the next Wilt Chamberlain. It's like, my God, the guy cannot be stopped.
He played at Virginia, right? He was. Yeah. I remember in college he was easily the best player.
Then the injuries.
Robin, I want to ask you a question about your list again, because I'm interested in your list. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to ask you which 2 guys on your list are very close together. Like, do you have Duncan and Barkley together? Like, do you have a 3A, 3B? Do you have a 4A, 4B? If you understand what I'm trying to say, are some guys super tight?
That's a good question. Yeah, I like that, Judge. I think, like, to go along with the same thing we've been saying, I think all of these guys are pretty close to me, except for Tim Duncan. To me, I think Tim Duncan separates himself at number 1. I don't think there's anybody that you can say is really better. I know you had KG in that interchangeable spot. For me, 2 through 7, you can move those guys around. If you had Karl Malone number 2, I wouldn't be mad. If you had Dirk Nowitzki number 2, I'm not mad at it. I was shocked you guys had him that high. You had Kevin Garnett. I just said that I didn't think Kevin Garnett was that close to Tim Duncan. If you want to have Kevin Garnett number 2, I'm not going to go crazy about it. I won't rant. But, I think that Tim Duncan is in his own category as far as the power forwards goes. But then, like we said, we can argue that Dirk Nowitzki was more formal for that position. Tim Duncan, he's not stepping out and making any jump shots like that. He's not going to do that in any world. That wasn't his game. Do you
have Malone and Pettit really close, or do you have Pettit and Barkley really close, or you had KG at 5, right?
Yeah, I had KG at 5. I think KG and Dirk to me are very, very close. Like I said, I think it's just the rebounding and the defense that edge it out for me for KG over Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, like I said, I think they're close. I wouldn't be mad either way. Karl Malone and Charles Barkley are very close to me. I think those guys are very close. Bob Pettit, to me, like I said, I never watched him play. Off of all the things that I listened to other people talk about him in his game, like Rex was saying, he was really like the first skilled power forward. He introduced weightlifting. A lot of people thought it was Wilt Chamberlain that brought the weightlifting aspect to the NBA, but it was somebody like a Bob Pettit that was weightlifting early on. And like I said, the era that he played in, I don't know. If you told me Bob Pettit was the best power forward of all time, I wouldn't be able to argue against it.
Well, there was back in the 80s, there was a thing back then when the whole change came about with Bird, Magic, Jordan, and Stern came in and everything was being changed. There was the argument that was common that even the old heads, the players themselves, would sit there and, of course, they'd include like Wilt would always include himself. Of course, I would dominate, blah, 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 But all the regular players, so to speak, the Oscar Robertsons, the Earl Monroes, the Fraziers, they all said that Bob Pettit was the one guy from back in the 50s that if you took him, picked him up, and dropped him in 1986, would still be an MVP candidate, would still average 25 and 10. that the modern game actually fit his skill set better than the era he actually played in. And that's what they all said, and what coaches said, like that same type of thing. John Kundla, coach of those Mikan teams, he said that Bob Pettit is the one guy from back in the dawning of the NBA that you could drop him in the modern league. Now, modern 30 years ago, that he could be dropped in and would still be an MVP caliber player, would still average 25 and 10 because he had a modern game in a caveman time.
So Rex, let me ask you a question. Why is it that it's always been said, for people who remember, that until Tim Duncan came and did his thing, that Kevin McHale was considered the greatest power forward of all time?
I never heard anyone call Kevin McHale the greatest power forward of all time except Barkley. Barkley says it, proclaims it, stands by it, and shouts it from the rooftops. But other than him, I've never heard anyone say it. I've never even heard.
I think people have said that Kevin McHale was one of the better post-up power forwards.
The greatest post player.
Game.
No, I have. No, people do say he has the best post-up game, that it's better than the Dreams. He has so many moves. He has the up and under moves, the fallaways from either side. If you remember, Hakeem only posted on the left side. That's why it was so stupid when Barkley went to Houston, because they both played the same position on the floor. They both posted on the left block. So one of them had to move, and you knew it wasn't going to be Hakeem. So then Barkley had to move out. Okay, well, that's Drexler and Pippen's area. So that's why that fit never worked. But McHale could play right side box, left side box, up and under moves, fadeaways. He could step out to the elbow and hit the jumper. He had that jumper. He pulled it back behind his head and sort of flung it. He could get on the break when he had good wheels. Once his feet went bad and he got the arthritic foot, then he wouldn't even go on the break. He didn't even try. He would rebound and outlet and stay. And you saw Parrish do more running because he was always healthy.
Okay, so aren't you kind of saying it right now? Because we've all said that the KG and Dirk revolutionized the position. But before we said it was all about, for 40 years, guys are banging down low.
Yeah.
And this guy, McHale, was the best down low.
Yeah.
So would that not make him the best power forward?
No, because as we've spoke, the position has changed more than any position in the history of the sport.
No,
so
brother.
It's not
I'm
just about
saying
banging
before
down
Tim
low.
Duncan.
I mean,
I'm saying
Dirk
before Tim
Nowitzki
Duncan
is 7 foot and has a fantastic shooting touch. You're trying to tell me if Dirk Nowitzki didn't grow up in New York City, he wouldn't just be freaking dominating down low? He wouldn't have a jump hook and a turnaround, and he'd look like White Elvin Hayes with 3 more inches.
No, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying he had the reputation of being the best power forward because of his skill set down low.
Best post
game for power forwards.
Best post game. That is not the best all-around player. He had the best post game of any power forward. Bob Pettit did not play the post. Bob Pettit was a jump shooter.
All right,
He was a baseline guy.
All right, let me address the chat for a second. Ren Sports says that, come on, Russell is overrated, but better than Draymond. I disagree with I think Russell's underrated, but that's besides the point.
So
Chris Roberts says awards don't equal better. Paul Elect says, man, Bill Russell must be the most underrated and disrespected legend of all time. To be honest, the most hated is LeBron, but underrated or disrespected is Bill.
I disagree. He's in the Hall of Fame. The Finals MVP is named after him. He got the 5 MVPs. He's not underrated. People know what he did. They underrate his era. They don't underrate him. The most underrated players are the players that get no recognition, that sat there and did it, but aren't in the Hall of Fame, but they did their jobs the way it's supposed to be done at a high level for a long period of time, but they're not in the Hall of Fame. Those guys, you know, those are the guys that are the most underrated. The ones that we're not talking about when we should. Those guys, you know, we haven't even mentioned McGinnis in Philly. I mean, Dr. J voluntarily took a back seat because McGinnis was so dang good. You know, Mel Daniels, possibly the greatest player in ABA history. Yes, better than Dr. J because of the length of time. Yeah, I think he was like a 3-time MVP of the ABA. I mean, there's so many players that we don't mention, we don't give credit to. Those are the ones that are underrated. I mean, you know, Universe Galaxy, me and him agree with as far when it comes to John Stockton. I think John Stockton is underrated, but the guy's in the Hall of Fame. So is he really underrated or is he underappreciated? Those are two different things.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a better word for it, is underappreciated. Until people start giving the lists out, and then they're like, John Stockton
is at the top of everything, and it's like, who is this guy? You know?
Or he's not a top 10 point guard, but he's, you know, or whatever.
You know, there are guys, there's YouTube videos of guys for Utah who say John Stockton, when they are at home and practice on Sundays, he comes out and practices with the teams after church, and he's still the best player on the court. He's 60.
Yeah.
And he's still the best player playing at the Utah Jazz practices.
Yeah, that's crazy. Let me segue into another trivia question. How many times, if you're in the chat, please answer this. Please answer this question if you're in the chat, and continue to ask questions. If you'd like to definitely get your comment read, please either super the comment or become a member of my channel, where the base membership cost is the price of a Gatorade.
Wheaties?
Or a box of Wheaties. I was about to say that too.
Yeah.
That might be the second highest. I don't know how much
Hanes underwear.
That's probably the.
Oh no, those are more expensive. I just went and looked at those. Yeah.
But the question is, please participate in the chat. How many times did Karl Malone win the scoring title?
2.
For points per game. Rex says 2.
I'm going to say 0.
Robin says 0.
I'm going to go 1.
Nick says 1. If you're in the chat, please answer your question. Right now, Tony Boots is in the lead with 1. Chris Roberts says 1. Judge, with the dramatic, you look like you could be a bronze statue.
He's deep in thought.
The thinking man.
Yeah, the thinker.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Not muted.
Come on, Judge, get together, man.
You're muted, Judge. But are you saying 2 or
maybe?
Either has.
Judge, take it off of mute, man. Come on, what are you, 10?
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Listen, the answer is 0. He didn't win any scoring titles.
I feel like this is an OG answer, just piggybacking off of Robin, or do you? No, it's 0?
No, because it's 1 or it's 0. There's no 2.
It can't be 2.
It can't be 2.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, it's 0 or it's 1. It's not 2 at all. That's what I was saying on the mute. It's not 2 at all. It's not 2 at all, because you have to look at the timeline, right?
Stop talking.
I went 0. I went 0.
If you're in the chat and want to give an answer, yep. Wait.
I went 0.
If you're here, 0. Jared K says 0.
There was a year he averaged. There was a year he averaged 29.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he came in second. I think he came in second twice. So I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm wrong.
So Rex, are you changing your answer, or is it still?
No, I'm not changing it because my initial answer was 2, and then I was thinking, was that 2 MVPs or 2 scoring titles or what? But then I thought about it, like he said, you got to think about the timeline, and I think the 2 years that Jordan wasn't eligible, he actually came in. Malone came in second both times, I think.
All right. The answer is 0.
Yeah, good job.
Judge and Robin are now both tied at 3 apiece.
The reason why I paused, because I believe it was 0, but when I was researching Malone, there was years where he averaged 29 or 30, and I thought he might have won one then. But I'm like, Jordan is killing the scoring title. That's like, it's 0.
No, I think that year was the year that Robinson on the last game of the season, 71, and beat Malone.
94.
Yeah.
94.
Malone averaged 31 one year, but Jordan averaged 33.
No, it wasn't from Malone. It was from Shaquille O'Neal. He won the scoring. It was from Shaq on the last day of the year. He dropped like 71 or 72 points.
No, it was 71.
I watched both of those games. Shaq had the early game with Orlando, and then later on that evening, they force-fed the ball to Robinson.
They did the same thing with Gervin. I mean, they did the same thing with Gervin against what's his name? NC State.
Was it
David
Dantley?
Thompson?
Oh, Thompson, yeah.
Yeah, David Thompson scored 73 in the afternoon. Then George Gervin scored 64 in the evening to beat him out by like 2 percentage points.
So Jared K is now tied with Tony Boots, both with 1 for the trivia chat guys. And also Judge and Robin are tied at 3 apiece. Will Judge knock down Robin?
Not losing to Judge, man. No way.
Anyway, let's. I'll give my opinion on Robin's list, and as said before, all these guys are all interchangeable. But for me, Charles Barkley, number 2. Now I'm going to explain my list next, so I won't go into details. Charles Barkley is obviously great. He's one of the all-time great power forwards, and he was great in a vacuum. He was a great skill player. And I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like as an individual talent. But I think that's way too high. I think that you can argue Kevin Garnett better than Charles Barkley or Dirk. But that's just my opinion without going into all of that, because I'm going to give my list and the reasons why in a moment, which my list is vastly different than pretty much all of yours minus a couple people.
Going to have Rick Mahorn on there.
It's not Rick Mahorn. It's not the all-time enforcer. But I do have a couple enforcers on there. So
Maurice Lucas.
But yeah, no, I guess that's the biggest disagreement I have. But again, like it's not crazy to say that he's number 2. And everyone said, and I think Nick started saying this, is that there's so many different variabilities with power forwards. Like you just pick and choose, really. And all the guys mentioned were great players.
If he says Kurt Rambis, I'm leaving.
Just get up. All right. So my list, number 5 is Karl Malone. Karl Malone, and let me give some honorable mentions. I don't want to go. I mean, there's so many guys. Dirk, KG, Charles, Bob Pettit, all these guys. But I'm going to name a few guys, or 2 other guys that made none of your guys' lists that actually get pretty high up on the list. But number 5 is Karl Malone, 2-time MVP, 3rd highest scorer of all time, 12th in steals all time. He had talking about his consistency. A lot of people like to attribute his success only due to John Stockton. I find that completely unfair. Because what if John Stockton had somebody else? You know, who knows? It's a what if question. A what is answer is what happened. Not to say that it's unfair, but that's just how I look at it. Number 4, Kevin McHale, 3-time champion, 2-time Sixth Man of the Year. We were talking about him at a decent amount at length. His post skills, just being an integral part of that Celtics dynasty in the 80s, being one of the leading scorers on the team, and just being an all-around great player. Number 3, Judge has got to come back for this one. I want to wait for him.
Sorry, I was typing in chat. You had Malone number 5, and then
Kevin McHale number 4.
McHale 4. Okay.
Oh, okay. Here he is. I got to tell him. My number 3. You guys are gonna crucify me. Please do. I am trying to be a little controversial. Number 3, greatest power forward of all time, the donkey, Draymond Green, integral part of won 4 championships. Went to the finals 6 times, and defensive player of the year. So one of the things that I noticed after looking at when I was developing my top 5 list is that most of the guys that are considered the top power forwards of all time did not win championships. They would win one, maybe just one. But yes, I am, like I said, I am trying to be a little controversial, but putting it on there. Draymond Green, number 3. Number 2, the Worm, Dennis Rodman, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 5-time champion on 2 teams, one of the great defensive and rebounding players in the league of all time. And number 1 is Tim Duncan. We talked about him at length, so I'm not gonna. Chris Rob was unsubscribing. Talked about him at length.
My phone cut out. My phone cut out. Did you have Duncan, Robinson,
number 3,
and Draymond
number
Green,
2,
Kevin McHale,
Worm,
and
Dennis
at number
Rodman.
5 you had who?
Malone. I had Rodman at number 2. So
you
please
let me down, man. I really thought you were going to say Tommy Heinsohn.
No, I wanted to be controversial, but I wanted
explain yourself.
So the reason why I picked this list is that all the guys that I put on this list have been on teams that have won multiple championships outside of Karl Malone, but he went to 3 finals, and he went to 4 Eastern Conference finals in total. And then the third overall scorer of all time, 12th leader in
Malone
steals.
went to 2 finals.
No, he went to 3. He went to the one with the Lakers.
They got to the finals that year?
Yeah, they lost.
Yeah, okay. They lost to Detroit. Yeah.
Who wants to talk about his list first?
Oh, well, the only issue I have, I was considering Rodman too, but he didn't play power forward, but just for a portion of his career. So I didn't count him because he started as a small forward. Mahorn was the power forward in Detroit. Mm-hmm. He took over at small forward for Aguirre. But I thought I was considering Rodman, but I didn't think he played the position long enough. But other than that, I see it. I see the logic there.
Yep.
Who did you have? Who did you have at 4?
Who's putting me on the cross?
Who did you have?
Kevin McHale, number 4.
Okay, so listen what I want to say to you, brother. This is what I say to you. You're the okay. This is what I'm about to say to you. I want you to explain how you can look at Michael Jordan as being the best basketball player ever, winning the most championships with the least amount of help, spearheading, taking his team on his back, and doing it. And then you have Dennis Rodman, and you have McHale, and you have Draymond Green on your list.
Shout out Draymond Green. I know you've talked about him multiple times, so that's why I wanted you to on the line. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that was my question. I want to understand how you can look at a guy like Jordan, the criteria why Jordan is the best for having the accolades and the championships, but then you put Draymond Green and Dennis Rodman over, like, Bob Pettit.
Like I said, when I was making this list, it was about just success, championship success, and they were all integral parts of a lot of great teams. And again, I'm saying I was trying to be a little controversial. It's a hard thing. I think the power forward list is the hardest one to cement down, to be like, this guy is way better than this guy, like we've said over this entire thing outside of Tim Duncan. You want to say something, Rex?
That's why I thought for sure when you said you were going to shake things up earlier, I thought for sure you were going to do Heinsohn, because he has like 7 or 8 championships, and he was rookie of the year, and it was actually the first pick or he wasn't the first, he was technically the first pick in the draft in 56, and was rookie of the year, and then had like 7 championships as a player. And I really thought you were going to do Heinsohn as your I'm going to shake things up guy. You threw me off with Draymond. I thought you were going to say Heinsohn.
But with the Michael Jordan thing, though, I think he did have help. I mean, he had Scottie Pippen. He had
the best team in the league.
Yeah,
you can't say he dragged a bunch of losers to the final. I mean, they went 72-10 one year.
No, the reason why I say that is because when you look at the numbers, the point differential between the first place scorer and the second place scorer, Michael Jordan was scoring almost all the points on his team. Bro, do you have Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili as a top 5 point guard and shooting guard all time?
No, I don't know. All right, who's next? Who's going to throw this? Who's casting the next stone?
I'm okay. I'm okay with Rodman.
We're still in shock over the Draymond.
Yeah, I'm in shock over the Draymond Green, but I'm okay with Rodman. I think Rodman is very underrated in terms of just his versatility. He is a shutdown defender, arguably the greatest rebounder ever, especially for his size. I will let that one slide. Mr. Quadruple Single, though, that one's hard to get over. Yeah, that one's kind of tough. I'm kind of at a loss for words, to be honest with you. I mean, he's arguably not even like the third or sometimes even fourth best player on the team. When Andre Iguodala had that one year in the finals where he really showed out. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Like he's a good basketball player, right? Like he is. I mean, I think Draymond Green, he gets a little overhated, but sometimes it's deserved. But like he's a good basketball player, but top 5 power forward all time? No way, dude. There's no way.
He's a truly great team player.
He's a good glue guy, yeah.
Yeah. He's one of the greatest glue guys there's ever been.
That's why I put him on the team.
Yeah.
Top 5 or whatever.
I appreciate that because it's actually those guys that win the championships. Your stars, they battle each other and usually cross each other out. It's the glue guys and the bench guys that make the small plays, make the one play of the series that turns it. It's usually always that guy. You know, if you remember with Cleveland, Kyrie gets all the press, LeBron gets all the press, but do you remember Della how you pronounce his name? Dellavedova?
Dellavedova, yeah, something like that.
Dellavedova covering Steph. He did a masterful job. No one remembers. He got a big contract out of it. He got a free agent contract, became a multimillionaire out of it, but no one gives him credit. But it was his play that helped turn the tide that started. And then Draymond getting himself suspended is what really started the downhill roll.
You guys have lost all sense of reality, man.
Okay,
all
Stephen
sense
A.
of reality.
Let's hear it.
I'm so tired of this nonsense. I can't believe you. Listen, you knocked my Charles Barkley at number 2, which is all fine. But you have the nerve to put Draymond Green at number 3? You had the nerve to do that, though. You can't say that Charles Barkley is too high at number 2 and then put Draymond Green at 3. You cannot do that. You literally can't do that. It makes no sense. You can't even explain that in any language, in any kind of form that anybody would ever understand. There's no way in the world of basketball on the blacktop or the hardcourt that Draymond Green is a top 5 anything in the history of the world. He's not. I respect Draymond Green, but once again, you talked about the winning. Let's not forget, though, that all the other guys that we've been mentioning led their team. They were the leaders of their teams. Draymond Green's never been the leader of anything.
I think he is the leader of the team.
He is the leader of the team.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You might say he's a heart and soul, but he's absolutely not the leader on the basketball court. Where was that leader when Steph Curry and Klay Thompson were hurt? Where was he at? He wasn't doing anything on the basketball court. He was out there getting 3 rebounds, 5 points, an assist here and there. There's no way Draymond Green is in the top 5 power forwards. He played great for Golden State. He's great in that system. Wait, you guys are giving Draymond Green this much credit, but you guys won't give Bill Russell's teammates any credit.
It's him. No, it's him.
Really?
That's insane, man.
Really? You're
No
really
way,
saying
man.
that?
No way.
I'm the one that said I thought he was going with Heinsohn. I'm the one that
outta
said
here,
I thought he
man.
was going with Heinsohn.
No way
Okay,
Draymond Green is in
No,
that.
there's no way Draymond Green. You know what? I have an idea.
Only Draymond Green believes this.
I have an idea.
And me.
Dart, I want you to do something. I understand you're being controversial because when I said KG1B, it's controversial. I understand. Can you make a top 5 list that is non-controversial? Are you capable of doing that?
With power forwards, I think it's
Yes.
I think it's all controversial on power
That doesn't
forwards.
get clicks.
What'd you say, Rex?
That doesn't get clicks. Being controversial gets clicks. Remember
But
what the man's business is.
But I do think like
At least
the
you
way,
didn't say Darko Milicic.
Yeah. No, so I had a logical approach to it. And maybe Heinsohn should have been in there. He probably should have been
Kwame
number
Brown?
5. Yeah. But no, I mean I picked guys that were on dynasties that were big integral parts of having them win championships, multiple championships. So that was my logic behind picking them. And like I said before, and everyone has been saying, all these guys that we've talked about, they all can be deserving of being top 5. They're all great players. I just went on I went on a train of thought where guys that were impactful on their teams, that were a major part of their teams, starters on their teams, that won championships. So that's how I developed that list.
I can't get away from Draymond Green. He always comes up. I can't get away from this man.
Should have went with Heinsohn. Should have went with Heinsohn.
Shout out Judge saying that Draymond's better than Ben Wallace at defense.
I cannot escape Draymond Green. I hate Draymond Green.
Oh,
What about Michael Cage?
Draymond Green is number 1 in something. It's kicking people in the testicles during big
Brother,
games.
Draymond Green has never averaged 9
Harden's in the
rebounds
ballpark.
a game. He's never
Pun
averaged
intended.
9 rebounds a game. He doesn't block shots. He doesn't get rebounds. So how are you a power? I don't know, man.
It's all right. It's all right. I knew this was coming.
You know, you need to put this on the shorts. You want to get clicks?
Draymond Green better like this.
Just give my top
Better
5
give it a
list.
like. You better
He's
subscribe.
dead. This, you put this on the short for the promoting this. If you want to promote this podcast, you put that there. You're gonna get 10,000 subscribers. You're gonna get thousands, a million.
Yeah.
Draymond Green.
I will make a short of my top 5 just since you said
Not
it.
Charles Barkley, not Kevin Garnett.
Willis?
All right, let's get into I'll read some more of these comments and then we'll get into the next trivia question. Talking about Nick is in the comments.
Yeah. let me
Chris?
ask you guys. Actually, we're having a little debate in the comments, right? And maybe.
Oh, you're in the comments?
Yeah.
I can't see the comments. I
So
don't know what.
this guy Paul Elect 144K. I was saying I have a hot take that Kyrie Irving was slightly more deserving of the 2016 Finals MVP than LeBron. I understand LeBron averaged better stats across the board, not by much in points, not by much in steals, but in rebounds and assists he did. even though I believe Kyrie had a better true shooting percentage and shot 95% from the free throw line, and LeBron shot like 74%. But Kyrie's defense on Steph Curry, if you go back and look at Steph Curry's games, he's got several games where he only had 11 points, 16 points. He averaged like 22.5 points in the series. For the season, he averaged 30. That's my main argument, is like LeBron offensively and in stats was slightly better than Kyrie, but Kyrie's defense on Curry is the difference in that series. And I would have given the Finals MVP to Kyrie Irving instead of LeBron for that series, mainly because of his defense on Curry, his on-ball defense.
I could have seen that. I wouldn't have went, oh my God, if they would have given it to Kyrie.
Yeah, I think, me and Judge debated the Finals MVP award and the validity of it. Now, we talked about this stuff. Now, if Kyrie would have won it, I think that he would have been deserving of it, and like we talked about, if you look at games 3 through 7, Kyrie Irving was sensational. Sensational. He was nothing short of spectacular in games 3 through 7. The way that he played, the way that he handled the ball, not really turning the ball over, knocking down jump shots, taking it inside the hole, into the paint against these guys. Like you said, harassing Steph Curry on defense. I think
he had a game-winning shot in there too, right?
The fourth quarter numbers.
Yeah, well, he had the championship-winning shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but
right.
That's the
he scored 41 points in one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that in a microcosm essentially how we argue about Barkley and Malone? I mean, LeBron had the consistent stats, but when you needed a play, it seemed Kyrie in games 3 through 7 was the one that came up with the play.
Yeah.
It was it's almost like I said, a microcosm of the Barkley versus Malone argument, where Barkley had the higher points, the bigger, more memorable shots and plays and rebounds, but Malone had the consistency. Isn't it really essentially in that series the same thing? They gave the vote to the consistent name rather than the one that was up and down, but up when he needed to be.
Well, I mean, Kyrie was consistent too. He averaged over 27 points per game in that series. I mean, that's incredible.
What were the individual games? What were the individual games?
Yeah,
consistency is what were they individually? Like if like when Jordan
that's what I'm saying. 3 through 7, Kyrie Irving was the best player on the Cavaliers.
Yeah, Jordan has the record, for the most points in in 86 against Boston, not only in a playoff game, but I believe his average for that series is the highest ever. His third game was 19. He was not consistent.
Yeah.
But he still has the records. He still has the numbers because the other two games were so monstrous, so iconic. But he had 19 in the third game. He was outscored by Dave Corzine. But he
wasn't jumping Jordan, man. There's nobody else on the Bulls. Yo, stop trying to not put the context in there, Rex. Put the context in, man.
Can't say anything.
That's why he had 19.
I just gave
the Celtics were putting everybody on Jordan. He had 42 in the first game,
no,
and then
49.
63.
49. No, 49.
Yeah,
then
exactly.
63.
On Dennis Johnson.
Then 19.
On Kevin McHale.
Yeah.
On Robert Parrish.
He just
on
ran out
Bill
of gas.
Walsh, on
He
these
just ran
guys.
out of gas.
Larry Bird.
No, he just ran out of gas because he missed most of the season with the broken foot. When you got a broken foot, you lose cardio. You can't run. You can't. You couldn't cycle for most of the season to even stay in that kind of shape. He ran out of gas.
Kyrie
is all
was the closer. Kyrie was always the closer for the Cavs.
There you go. He was the what's his name? Mariano Rivera of the Cavs.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like my main argument is that although LeBron, his stats are better. They're better by this much. Kyrie's defense on Curry means this much more.
Was the game changer.
Yeah,
it was
took the engine out of the Warriors.
On the seesaw, it was the tipping point.
Yeah.
But that's how what was the quote I read once is that all changed. I guess Draymond got suspended, right?
Yeah.
And then what
He's the third greatest power forward of all time, but he couldn't even stay on the court for a Game 5 in the NBA Finals. But he's number 3 all time. See what I'm saying, Dart? That's crazy, man.
It was those testicles were saying something to Draymond. He had to kick him.
LeBron's brilliance that series was he was passing to other teammates the first few games, and then he figured out, screw it, just pass it to Kyrie.
All right, guys. I'm going to read a couple more comments. And
then Robin thinks LeBron deserved that, right? They were deserving, right?
His play was LeBron played great, man. Like I said, listen, Judge,
yeah,
I already
he deserved it. He deserved it. He earned it. No, he earned it, right?
He did earn it. They both earned it. I agree with NNB though. If Kyrie would have got it, like Rex said, it wouldn't have been like, oh my God, they gave it to Kyrie. I mean, listen, he could have won off that one shot alone. That was one of the biggest shots in NBA Finals history. He stared down his man. He stared down the 2-time MVP in his eyes, stared him down, and took the shot right in his face. He didn't get a screen or nothing. He just stared him down and shot it right in his face.
Yeah, like Michael Jordan.
I think it was the most iconic. I think it was the biggest.
Yeah. So Kyrie was robbed. So then that means Kyrie was robbed.
There should be a round two. There should be a round two.
We all know the narrative. You got to give it to LeBron James and Nike, right? Nike's sponsoring the whole thing, right? I get it. I get it. I understand. I get it.
LeBron played great in the series too, man. He did.
They both played great.
Yeah, they both earned it. But the trophy don't go to who earned it. It's the most valuable, and whatever. We'll see. We'll see, buddy.
Let me read these comments, and then we'll get to the rapid fire trivia, where whoever comes out on top and gets into the sudden death trivia, since there's a tie. Well, actually, it will just be one. If somebody loses, we'll go in or if you know what I'm getting at. Anyway, Chris Roberts says Draymond, a bench player on some other teams. I don't deny that, but that's besides the point. Chris Roberts says, I'm glad you did that though, Dart. This is entertaining. And then the Nick and Paul Leck debate continues on. So for the next trivia question, let's see. Let's get a good one going on here.
Me and you, Judge.
How many All-Star teams has Giannis Antetokounmpo been on?
Antetokounmpo.
The Greek Freak. If you're in the chat, please put your answer in, and I'll record and see. Say it again. How many All-Star games was the Greek Freak a part of?
All-Star games.
All-Star selections.
I'm gonna say 7. Specific. I'm guessing
6.
6.
Judge with the dramatic thinking.
Come on, Judge.
Here comes I'm gonna go. I'm going 8.
Now.
All right. If you're in the chat, please put your answer in the chat.
In fact, I'm changing mine. 5.
All right.
5.
So we got a 5, 6, 7, and 8. Rex let everyone down apparently earlier. Everyone rode on his back.
Robin, how much you say, Robin? How many?
I'm old. I said COVID. My memory.
7?
All right. Chris Robert answers 5. And the answer is
5.
7. We have a 7-time
God dang,
trivia
dude.
champion.
Yeah,
he's got a team or something over there Googling the
rings
answers.
doesn't mean anything.
The championship.
Can't stop me.
The champion. Yeah.
They can't stop him. We can only hope to contain him.
Let's go. That was a guess.
I want to thank all. I'm sorry. What do you guys say, Judge?
Yeah, it's good. Congratulations.
Sour grapes?
Yeah, I'm not mad.
I'm like Kobe right now, just watching Boston celebrate, and I'm like, okay, we'll see.
Next time. Do you have a topic that you want to talk about next week, Robin?
I don't know. You guys have any ideas, man? I'll throw it out to the panel. We got a good amount of guys today.
If you guys really want to go deep, really want to dig deep. And
don't say nothing crazy, Rex. Don't say nothing crazy, man, please.
Top 5 enforcers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I could do that.
Rex
I would love that.
coming through with a great idea.
You gotta do some real digging, though, to get the answer. Because you just can't look at points per game and rebounds. You got to look at fouls, ejections.
No. Wait a minute, timeout.
Yeah, we need some.
We're talking about old school enforcers.
We need like a
timeout.
Clear definition.
What's the definition of an enforcer? Because in the 50s, they're all enforcers.
That's why we all will have different lists.
That's a good one, though. I do like the topic.
You see how much groundwork on a cover and how much knowledge is going to be put out?
Yeah.
See what you can accomplish when you take your ass out from behind a goddamn Joker thing?
Excuse me, that is an oil painting by my daughter.
Ooh.
It's in the next room.
Why you gotta go emotional on it, man?
Make me look like the bad guy. Now I'm the bad guy.
Because it's painted by my daughter, who's in the next room hearing this.
No, remember, man, there's no judgments, man. There's no judgments, man. I'm glad you showed yourself, man. Rex, man. It was good talking to you, man. Yep. I respect you coming out, man. No judgments, man. There's never any judgments, man.
I just had to steal the computer to do it.
I respect the knowledge.
All right, all of you, I appreciate you all coming on. If you're in the chat, please come back next week, as you heard.
Hold on before you sign off. Hold on.
All right.
Keep talking, but just don't sign off yet.
Okay. If you like this, please subscribe as a member or join as a member for my channel. The base membership price is the cost of a Gatorade, an energy drink, whatever you want to, $3, $2.99. When you do that, all the proceeds will go directly to the channel. It is just to make the StreamYard better, more aesthetic. And then potentially, I'm not allowed to say this apparently when I tried to put this on my base member plan, but maybe, wink, wink. Hello.
Happy Father's Day.
Oh,
thanks, guys.
Awesome. Happy Father's Day. Yep, that's awesome.
Hi, guys.
Bye-bye. Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye. But if you join the channel, all the proceeds will go to the channel. And then I can't say it, but maybe there may be some merchandise give outs. So,
Eugene never got any merchandise.
Yeah, I'm not him. And I'm definitely going to give it back to the people.
Well, I would have worn his merchandise, and I will wear yours.
That's awesome, Rex. And it's gonna say Michael. You're gonna have the Michael Jordan fans are the best.
Sure.
But you said Michael Jordan fans are the worst.
Yeah.
Okay.
just showing some support.
No, you're talking two different things. Supporting your channel, absolutely. You could name your channel, la-di-da-di-dee. Then I'll wear a T-shirt that says la-di-da-di-dee. But yes, the majority of Michael Jordan fans are the worst fans because he brought in so many casuals into following the sport that I can't stand it.
But I appreciate it, Rex. Just want to shout out everybody on the panel yet again. If you're watching and like what Sports and Fitness Rants and NNB Sports, Robin and Nick had to say, please go to their channels and subscribe. They come here often, and they will be linked in the in my title and description, and in my community page.
My channel has very good playlist about basketball, old basketball. Basketball.
This guy had a guy on his list. This guy left the Bulls to go have sex with a porn star in Las Vegas and come back. Like you had Dennis Rodman. You have the Worm on your list, bro. This guy had a
random. He's not random.
This guy had a wedding. Yo, man.
That's for 2 weeks from now. Top 5 nicknames.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good one too.
The Worm.
Hey, let me ask you a question. If Chris Webber wins a ring with the Sacramento Kings, is he a top 7, top 5 power forward? If the Sacramento Kings got that done, do you have him higher than Dirk?
I would put him in top 10 if I'm thinking about it. But
you remember when he came into the league?
I was thinking about that no one thought of And I understand not saying them because they probably all time are not that high, but the Davis brothers in Indiana, I thought were really fantastic.
I was going to say Zach Randolph was another one of my favorites.
Zach Randolph.
That's my guy.
I love Zach Randolph. The lefty.
That's my top enforcer right there.
Yeah, he was good, man.
Gentlemen, it's been great. I'm going to now spend the Father's Day with my family, and I appreciate all you guys as fathers and as just sports talk people and as guests on my channel. And be great and have a great rest of your day. And for everyone, no, that's your 7. You got 7.
Yeah, 7.
I'm sorry. I didn't see the one figure. My bad.
No Rasheed Wallace? No Rasheed Wallace?
Hey guys, real quick. You're mentioning all the Weber, Rasheed Wallace. You mentioned earlier the center for Detroit, Ben Wallace. You realize all those guys.
Sean Kemp, or is he more of a small forward?
No. The guys, Wallace, the two Wallace guys, Chris Weber. If you want to throw in there, oh gosh,
Antonio McDyess.
Hamilton. All those guys were in Washington and couldn't make the playoffs. They all except Weber. The other 3 all go to Detroit, get good coaching, and they go to 2 finals and win a championship.
What do you mean? Rasheed went to Portland, almost beat Shaquille O'Neal and the Lakers.
Yeah, but
everybody said that Rasheed cared about basketball. If he cared about basketball, he had more talent than Tim Duncan. People say Rasheed just didn't care.
Yeah. Actually,
he was hitting threes before Dirk Nowitzki.
Dean Smith, before he started going senile, he thought that Rasheed Wallace was going to be the GOAT when he recruited him. He thought he was going to be he said he could literally do everything a big man needs to do. But he
don't lie. The ball don't lie.
Yeah, he never put it together consistently. He did a lot like Wilt to a lesser extent. Wilt could do everything. Wilt could pass. Wilt could score. Wilt could rebound. Wilt could block shots. But he never did it all at the same time to equate to winning basketball. Only a couple times. It was always, I'll score tonight. It was always preconceived. I'm going to do this tonight. I'm going to do that. Rasheed never said, I'm just going to lead a team and left it at that.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry. I got to get going. But
yeah, we got to get going. We're going to go take care of the kids or go make some kids. One of the two.
For everyone, Michael Jordan fans are the best.
Not necessarily.
And he signs off.
Later, guys.